my old enemy. Punishment and justice must be, thus it thinks. Not for nothing shall he sing his songs in honor of hostility here. Yes, it has avenged itself, and alas, now it will also make my soul whirl with revenge. But so that I do not whirl, my friends, bind me fast to this pillar here. I would rather be a starlight than a whirlwind of revenge. Zarathustra does not want to be mixed and confused with others. Some preach the doctrine of life, but are at the same time creatures of equality and tarantulas. Zarathustra preaches the doctrine of life, but not of equality. For justice speaks to me, humans are not equal, and they shouldn't become so either. What would my love for the Overman be if I spoke otherwise? Nietzsche's Overman is the ultimate form of man and the meaning of the earth. He is in constant becoming and self-overcoming, and unlike the preachers of equality who seek power over others, the Overman seeks power over himself. It is clear, however, that not everyone can become extraordinary. That would seem a utopia for Nietzsche. He calls the chasm between the ordinary and the extraordinary a pathos of distance, but that should not be a reason for the ordinary people to eliminate all traces of the extraordinary, the strong, the aristocratic, and noble out of sheer spite. This is Nietzsche's main critique of the preachers of equality. The dystopian scenario for Nietzsche is the mediocrity and conformity of the last man, who not only does not want to be different, but is perfectly happy to be virtually the same as everyone else. This is leveling par excellence, that is, putting everyone at the same level and missing all the subtle complexities of human identity. And it is these who are most prone to fall prey to totalitarianism, which Orwell masterfully portrayed in his book 1984, with the perfect totalitarian society: psychological manipulation, mass surveillance, control of mind and body, control of information and history, control of language, and eradication of individuality. If you want a picture of the future, imagine a boot stamping on a human face forever. Freedom and individuality is key, and we mustn't get carried away by the siren songs. If liberty means anything at all, it means the right to tell people what they do not want to hear. I hope you enjoyed this video. You can support the channel on Patreon or by liking, commenting, or sharing the content. Thank you for watching.
The government is a figment of your imagination. It's an artificial, intelligent overlay. It is only a concept. It's a play, it's a performance, it's an act. They love when I have to fucking go off. I can look at something from a few different sides, and I can see where it all connects despite what they're telling me. Right? They just look at what they're told. I look at what makes sense. You know, they'll say I'm doing word salad. They'll say that I'm just going off on my own tangent, but that is because my mind works in a different way than the majority of the slaves. You guys are all in your feelers and never see the logic behind life, how it all moves together and fits together and how it works. So when you learn to check your feelers and move them out of the way and just observe with clarity and presence and awareness, you will make the right determinations and the right decisions. It's all the same shit over and over again. And no matter how much I speak on self-empowerment, self-mastery, self-reflection, you all have a belief and a feeling that's going to trump that. Ancient wisdom that works for everybody who embodies the path. You're not your own God. I know you want to be, but you're not. As soon as you get in line with what that thing wants from you or what is, you'll stop having these fucking problems. I view all the rest of this shit as a distraction. Governance is an act and a play, and it requires your belief and participation. The culture, the society, the legal system, the legal society, policy, statute, and code is the original artificial intelligence and state of consciousness that has been overlaid on the NI. And that's why you have domesticated slaves and you have uncivilized men like myself. You don't want to accept that there's an objective morality that exists in this realm that every man and woman can comprehend using objective logic. it's not about wanting the fame and the riches. It's about being good at what you do, being recognized for it, and then when you get to the dance, telling all the people to suck your dick in public and leave because you never wanted to bond with them anyway. That's the whole point of being true to yourself, is so that wherever you get to that you're meant to go, you don't have to change that. Quite the opposite. That's what got you there. I got a direct link to that spirit and to the people who kicked you there. You can't get in between them. That's beyond worldly power. That's where you go beyond the ceiling that they don't want you to go beyond. That's the stage of inspiration and empowerment. They can't control you no more. They can't influence you no more. They can't put fear on you and things around you to stop you from being who and what you're meant to be. That's the game for me. That's the game for all of us, I thought. Actualized and realized. Written on our heart, first and foremost, through common sense, that if not overlaid with some dogma and indoctrination, we could all communicate harmoniously. Right? So I'm never going to accept, unless my perspective completely changes, that there isn't an objective morality here that can be hit as a standard and understood by any being with the capacity of objective logic, understanding right from wrong. Okay? So you just want to say statute, policy, and code is law, and the law is the law, even though they're making it up and revising it constantly. And it's not always in line with objective right from wrong. So you're completely misunderstood. You guys talk from feelers. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Your etymology is never sound because you don't care to look into the words and terms. This should not be that difficult. But for beings who lost the ability to imagine, I'm sure that it's quite the Herculean task. You should be able to zoom out and see all the connections and how it relates. You can't do that, you have no business speaking to someone else who can. There is no selfless component to you folks' consciousness. And it's evident because you constantly project onto others how selfish you think they are, because you don't think that that state of consciousness is attainable. Embarrassing.
Check. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. We have Mr. Brian O'Shea on the Reese stream. So if folks are watching over there, it is Proper Instruction Motivates People. That is the channel for the live chat and the panel link, as Mr. O'Shea has displayed. I'm going to bring Mr. O'Shea in and Timmy because they're back there. Brian O'Shea, are you okay with the fact that Timmy will be holding the keys today? Timmy is the official key holder.
Oh, absolutely. It allows me to restream. I'm kind of annoyed when I'm a key holder. I don't get to restream, so it works out perfect.
Right. I think it kind of works better sometimes for the dynamic anyway. And also, I thought you were being a bitch this morning. So, yeah. I was like, if you're going to do this fucking starting wars and gossip when we're trying to end wars and legal secrets, Talcott style, it's, you're going to create that resistance, then, I don't know if I can have that around me right now. I've been challenged in my faith recently, right? I've been almost forced to become more faithful in a certain way of beingness. So in a way, that's a positive thing. But I don't need any extra games and drama around me more than necessary, right? I mean, you know what we do here. You know the thing. From time to time, we do the bit non-bit. We mix it up. It's got to be somewhat legitimate, right? So if you got some, fear, insecurity, some resentment, something toward me, look at that, get it out, talk about it. Don't let it fester. If you're, just playing mischievous games, trying to kind of set narratives to bolster numbers or bring attention, I guess that's another thing. But make sure you do take a look at that, because you've seen it here many times with others and probably yourself and even me, that, it's a slippery slope from doing the mischievous kind of bit non bit and, generating a bit of attention through some gossip and controversy, versus just manufacturing that from some place of lack of reconciliation, if that makes sense. But I want to hear from Timmy. Timmy, what do you have going on at some point, maybe in the second hour? I was going to have you potentially read some of the Tao if you're into it. If Brian wants to as well. I did a full couple hours a while back with the Tao Te Ching.
Yeah.
I find a lot of value in it. You know, when you can kind of, you know, sit with it and understand it more. And I think it takes time, like anything, to kind of see what the illustrator is trying to paint as far as a picture goes for who and what we are, you know, where we come from, where we're going, how to live, right? The art of living. So, um, yeah, it's something that when I am kind of challenged in faith, it's something that I return back to readily and regularly, if not just generally in the course of living. So again, that's just a personal preference. It's not like there isn't good information and experience in you know, scriptures, Christian scriptures, other scriptures, but that's primarily the one that I guess I find the most value in, right? Just for bringing a faith, for bringing a peace, for bringing a remembrance of an understanding or a perspective that may slip at times, right? As I've said, from my perspective, enlightenment is a practice, it's not an attainment, right? So you can slip, you can falter, you can miss the mark, you can neglect yourself and a truth and an experience and an understanding and fall into old ways, old patterns, old habits, and lack of resolution. So, Timmy, if you got anything, Mr. O'Shea, if you got anything, feel free.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I got like an hour and a half for me today. So if I'm still here and you want to move to that, then yeah, we can do it, or Brian can do it if he wants to. But yeah, I'm down for that. But yeah, now what I'm doing right now is I'm just learning about I might be doing a road trip from like New York to halfway across the country, and I'm looking at trying to figure out how to do like a mass notice to some of these towns, and trying to figure out how to do that in the most optimal way to kind of give pre-notice to kind of travel on my motorcycle without tags. So I'm just kind of looking. That's what I'm doing for the past
So you're
hour.
on New York presently?
No. Next month.
Oh, okay.
Planning it out.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind riding back there to, you know, have a meal or something. You know, I guess I'm one of those guys, right? You can't get food anywhere else like you can in New York. But when when I've gone from, you know, living there and growing up there to kind of expanding outward, I find now just, you know, living a lifestyle where I uphold the law or exercise my rights, quote unquote. I find less and less desire to return to these places because
Yeah.
I can't imagine going to New York or New York City and not, quote unquote, legally, of course it's lawful, but legally, you know, being considered a criminal for bearing arms, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's beyond absurd. So I mean, you know, we take it for granted. Oh well, we lived a whole life, and you know, you don't cling to the gun, and it's a tool, and all the rest of that. Yeah, I'd rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it. And to go to a large city or suburb, metropolis, where a bunch of low lives and deviants are running around, and to not be armed and to not have a right, essentially, it would seem, according to their beliefs, to bear arms and exercise your rights, to me, is a diminishing of the experience, right? And kind of a highlighting of what this place now represents, you know, generally. And again, I understand the dual jurisdiction. I understand I could probably carry and, you know, not have any issues. If I had to use it, I could go to court and put it on record. Listen, I have a natural right. We know that comes from God. I'm not even really going to invoke the Constitution. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's gambling like life is a gamble, right? And again, for code to now be the rule of the day, and for folks to believe on the whole that code is law, and for the code to essentially specify that anyone is criminalized for having certain pieces of property, that is, you know, like I said, it just makes it an undesirable place to be for me.
Yeah, no, I'm
Thoughts
with
on
you.
that?
My motorcycle is just there, so I'm basically just wanted to pick it up and then I got some stuff going on in Columbus, Ohio. So I was thinking maybe taking the journey there. I do, I've done the journey before, but that like kind of cross country thing. But yeah, no, I'm not interested in really. I never enjoy when I'm back, in my hometown in the suburbs in Westchester. I definitely don't enjoy it. So I'll probably be there for a day or two. But yeah, man, I'm just I'm focused on the legal lawful. I'm trying to figure out. All right. And Brian made a good point. He was saying like might be wise to not go on the interstates, to not like deal with highway patrol. And there might be something commercial about that, right? Like if I'm just on like Route 3 or whatever the fucking routes are and dealing just local, I think it might it might make more sense, and I might have a better time than dealing with some fucking state highway patrol, clowns that are just gonna, hey, these are our road, the private, it's the highway, So, but
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, potentially, but like anything else, when you start to, it would seem to me, when you start to pretend like you have the control over what's going to happen, the more of what you want seems to elude you, and the more of what you don't want seems to be drawn toward you, if that makes sense. So I played those games in the past. I kind of just reconcile that if I'm going to go wherever I'm going to go however I'm going to go, and whatever way kind of is most convenient, because again, state patrol, they'll patrol all the highways and byways, and they'll patrol certain areas of the locale, right? That are off the highway. I've seen that. I've seen them patrol the on ramps, off ramps, the local area. I mean, I'm pretty sure when I was stopped the last time or last couple times, I was pretty much on a more secluded two-way road, right? So, yeah, I mean, you could argue there might be more action for you on the back roads because there's less traffic and there's more to focus on with you. A cop who's on the highway is looking to get wherever they're going the majority of the time. So I don't know. I don't know if there's any rhyme or reason to this shit where you're going to kind of get out ahead of it and avoid the inevitable. You better just prepare on some level that if you're going to travel freely without these supposed pieces of paper and plates and the rest of it that are necessary, supposed necessary pieces of paper and plates, you better just presume that at some point you're going to have an interaction with somebody who doesn't understand who and what you are and what you're up to.
Right.
Unconventional behavior for them.
Yeah, that's a given. Spiritually, mentally, emotionally ready to just be free and not be in fear. But yeah, I mean, ready for whatever may happen. And just kind of accept what may come. And yes, I'm just kind of working through that. But yeah, man.
The word is out here where I've got to recently. There's a woman out here who, moves her shit around and, fairly regularly. They have court presentment and she just lets them know. And they say, why won't you just get this, this, and this? And she goes, no, I'm not doing it. I don't have to. Why won't you guys just let me travel freely? We could do this all day. So at the end of the day, it's like, you got to do what you got to do, as a man or woman in this life. And that's on all levels. I mean, listen, how many times in life are we doing something illegal, but it's lawful? It's ethical. It's not immoral. Nobody's getting loss, injury, harm. No debt is owed. Right. So am I going to sit there and go over thousands of fucking codes out of a book that many of the code enforcement doesn't even follow themselves? No, it's ridiculous. It's absurd. So, it's like in life, man. If I'm on New York and I got a 6-shot revolver and they want to write me up charges, whatever else, I'm going to tell them, listen, I got a 6-shot revolver. You got any reason to believe I'm going to commit any crime with it? You got any reason to believe I'm going to do a mass shooting out here? I got adequate means to protect myself in case some lowlife runs up on me. And again, they're going to tell you the same thing they told Bernie Getz, whatever it was, 30 fucking years ago or more at this point. 5 lowlives come up on you on the subway. They want to take whatever you have, maybe even clap your cheeks. Who knows? You pull a gun out on them and use them, you're going to prison. How long? 2-3 years, whatever, 5 years. But this is the level of fascism that places like New York, especially in the metropolitan areas, they're going to try to run that game on you. They don't want any guns. If you got guns, you're doing time. So it's a fucking shame, man. At the end of the day,
Yeah.
A guy. You remember Bernie Getz, right? That was a while back, but he was a guy. And again, I'm not disparaging you, but kind of like you in the sense of, again, like you, but well, that's the thing about what does like you mean. What I mean is the way people perceive you, right on here. They see the glasses, they see you're kind of skinny, so they start presuming, you're an internet dweeb, you're this, that, and the third, you're a tech guy. Some of that might be true. Again, they don't perceive that about me, but some of it's true about me. At one time, I used to work on computers just to figure them out, how they worked, replacing parts, taking shit in and out. But my point is for a guy who pretty much stays to himself, pretty humble, a tech guy, I think he was, pretty much going from work to and from home, good guy, by all appearances, nice guy, right? But, you're in that world and you're in those venues and folks look at you and they make a determination. Oh, this guy's white. He wears glasses. He's skinny. He's weak. We could take something from him. Right. And again, in my world, those are folks who need the most protection and governance of themselves. And when I mean governance of themselves, I mean the ability to pull a gun on 5 guys on the subway and tell them, listen, if you come any closer, you try to take my shit, I'm going to deal with all of you right now. So I find that to be a shame that a guy who's minding his own business, who's, a pretty good guy, nice guy, maybe not the biggest guy in the world, and they're going to try to do predatory behavior on him, and he's going to be criminalized for defending himself. It's absolute insanity.
Yeah, man. It is what it is. I'm tall. I mean, people can say what they want. But yeah, I mean, ultimately, these places have degenerated, a lot of them. So it is what it is. And I think, certain places resonate with folks, and then and other places just don't. I mean,
so let me ask you this: would you carry on New York? Would you exercise your right to potentially defend yourself or carry open or concealed, in the event that you had to defend yourself or your property? I mean, where does this go?
Yeah, I mean, lawfully, but again, like I'm not going there for long. So I mean, I'm not going to New York City. I'm not going on the subway. I'm not taking the bus. So I'm gonna be going to Westchester. Westchester's still pretty chill, and then moving sideways west. So what happens west? I mean, it is what it is. But again, it's just like it's the same conversation with traveling anywhere, right? It's what's the local and the township and the county rules for which arms am I allowed to carry? I'm going to notice them. Hello, sirs. I'm going to be carrying a 6-shot while I travel through your county.
I'm going to be on probably the most dangerous city in the world, the Rotten Apple, where the majority of criminals and lowlives are residing, as you like to put it. Are you going to criminalize me for possessing a 6-shot revolver to defend my beingness on that land? And then I guess if they say nothing back, well, they're in default. But, good luck. Listen, I'd love to do simulation 100 times within the confines of, New York or the 5 boroughs. I'd love to see what a cop would say if he came across, let's say, Timmy, because not me. They're immediately going to go, this guy's got to go to jail just by the way he looks. But Timmy, who has a professional, ethical look about him, who's going to get less profiled, I'd love to see what their fucking claim's going to be if they find a 6-shot revolver on him. How he's got to go to prison now.
I mean, this is where we get into the federal laws and then the local, and then how the Roman maxim custom is the law. So on some level, I really do believe that the Manhattanites, these people, it's their custom to be just fascist, slaved up. So they've accepted this bubble, right? The old bubble boomers.
Right.
So on some level, it is the custom. So it could be against the federal, constitution, if you will. But again, the private individuals, to call, the men and women, have kind of affirmed, even in, their acquiescence, that that's just what they want. So, if they paid the Manhattan tax, they paid all their taxes, they haven't said a fucking word, they don't really care. So it kind of is law there. So it is, on some level, right? We can argue whether that's right or wrong, but based on federal versus local, right? But so ultimately, it's almost like private property in my mind. It's almost like it's theirs. I don't really have any interest in New York City. I don't want to have any. Yeah, there's on some level American national and rights to go somewhere, but those are limited. Honestly, like I feel like it's limited to some extent. I don't have a business there. I don't have property there, right? I guess if I did, there'd be like more interest, in my opinion, or how I move. Like if I had a jeweler, like a shop, and I was fending the shop again, and then you do the paperwork. Is this a private membership association? That kind of stuff. But again, I have nothing to prove. I'm not interested in putting a sword and an AR on my back on my motorcycle with no plates and driving through Manhattan. I have no interest in that to prove nothing to nobody. I think they can live how they want. Like China can live how they want. New York City can live how they want. And it's known as to how they're moving. And like you've seen the migrant stuff. There's hundreds of thousands of Afghanis and Venezuelans, and I have no beef with them, but they got rug pulled and they got free luxury hotels, and now they're out in tents on the street, and they're gonna be doing I think crimes soon because they got nowhere else to go. I got nowhere else to go, and so it's just a big mess, and I haven't tied my beingness to some fascist place like that. So I'm not really gonna go to the city anyway. But yeah, man, it is what it is, and we'll see how it goes. But yeah, man, I think I'm just gonna do some preemptive notices, just to kind of also just to see where people are at. Maybe I'll do some calls. Maybe I'll just live. I'll record it and stuff just to kind of get the feel of it. But
I think you should ask the DA or whoever on record. Hey, if I like travel through your horrible city, and I'm like, from the supposed contiguous United States, still right, just a different state of, or like they like to say, or a different state. Right. If I'm traveling through there where the law is still the same, but the code differs, are you going to lock me up for potentially having a piece of property to defend myself and whatever extends off of me? I'd like to hear what they would respond with. Now, I'm sure they won't respond, but right. But why not?
Right.
Oftentimes they're not going to respond. Right. They're going to. They're as little as possible going to clarify and put on record who and what they are and what they're going to be okay with and not. You have to consult the code and try to make heads or tails out of it. Actually, you have to consult an attorney, Timmy.
Yeah.
He'll interpret.
Yeah, they'll. I suspect that they'll never really admit it live, right? And that was like the guy I called the Secretary of State, the Deputy Secretary of State of Wyoming, and he had no idea. Yeah, maybe I'll share that. I mean, it's kind of interesting. It's kind of interesting, actually. Maybe we could share the recording one day.
He had no idea what?
We went through this. He had no idea about law and like the Constitution. He's like, look, man, I really don't know. He didn't know about anything, because I was asking him, what do you think about Wyoming claiming that it owns all the water everywhere, every drop in the state? And I'm like, that's ridiculous. How am I actually owning the property if Wyoming's claiming that they own the state, and I have to go and pay $1,000 to a water engineer to like inspect and do all these codes? What about freedom? And he's like, yeah, man, I don't really know about that specifically. And then I was talking to him about codes and incorporation versus unincorporated, and I'm like, wait a second, I should be the Secretary of fucking State or whatever the fuck his shitty position is. He had no clue.
Yeah, well, like Tribe is saying, my limited understanding is that the state citizen, right? There's different type of citizens, but this is what the nationals get into, the idea of a state citizen. So an Arizona state citizen, not state of, but Arizona state citizen, apparently is under that constitution, right? It's a nation state within a nation state, you could argue. So again, you could argue that all nation states within the nation state have to be upholding law and code that is commensurate with the law, that is commensurate with the origination, right? The documentation that they're bound by. We're not bound by the Constitution, but they are. That's why that Bill of Rights, Declaration of Independence, all the rest of it becomes the law of the land. So essentially, as an Arizona state citizen, the law of that land applies to me regardless of where I am. It's why if I get locked up on, let's say, Singapore or something like that, you know, for lawfully using cannabis, I mean, I could essentially make a claim that, you know, I'm tied to that land and that law goes with me wherever I go because God goes with me wherever I go. Right. And they're all one and the same, you could argue, legally and lawfully. It's all tied together, right? It's chain of title. So, you know, that's why we, you know, again, you're going to have a bit of an issue with their ethics of their system, but ultimately the claim still stands. This is why on a lot of these lands, they will contact the consulate, whoever it may be, to get them in contact with you so they can try to mitigate a remedy. Right. If you're not from their land and you're not part of their society, they're technically not supposed to be applying their code and their rules to you. Doesn't even matter if you're on their land. Right. But again, you know, you have politics involved in that. You have theology and philosophy and, you know, all the rest of the elements of the human experience involved in that process and that decision. Right. And of course, pride and ego. Hey, we don't give a fuck about any of that. You're here, you're on this land, and we're going to make an example out of you one way or the other. You know, you got a lot of folks who run that game everywhere you go. You know, United States, America, Bali, it doesn't matter where you go. They're going to give you that trip. What makes you think that you're so unique and special? You're going to come to this land and do whatever the fuck you want. And it's like, we could go that route, but it's not about whatever I want. It's like who I am and everything that extends off me and what makes me a human being. Right. So, yeah, this is kind of, it's common sense, but I guess it's not. It's been lost in the sauce with the fascism, the idea of states of, the idea of countries versus lands, and who or what owns that land or has a right to be on that land and access personal choice in pursuit of happiness. This is like basic level shit that apparently we haven't, you know, inculcated from middle school. You know, this is like grammar, middle school history shit.
Yeah, I mean, look what I agree with Tribe down here. That's kind of what I was just saying about New York City, right? Like, I feel like there's a foreign like custom of slavery and fascism in New York City that it is a like I wouldn't be following their custom, but it's bizarre, right? Because the criminals carry, right, and then the civilized folks don't, and that's the custom, right? The outlaws carry. It's inversion land, right? The outlaws carry, and or not even outlaws, the out legals. It doesn't sound as nice. The code breakers are not following it, but the code followers do, and they, you know, so it's bizarre. But yeah, there's definitely something to that. I don't know. It's kind of interesting, Tribe, with the whole state citizen thing, because I would never. I mean, at this point, I don't know how that all works. I never signed the New York State Constitution, right? So I don't believe I'm a New York State citizen. Maybe, you know, it's tough, man. But I think ultimately it's like I have ties. Okay, so I'll give you my opinion on like what is a national, right? Like passport says citizen/national, right? I believe because I have real ties to some things, some people, my livelihood, like where I was born, that gives me a rightful claim to the lands around my hometown, right? Like to be there, to go there, and then and because I have relationships with people there, right? And then by extension, like to maybe the other states, because that area has agreements with like Pennsylvania and the other states, right? So because I don't have direct like you know, like a direct property on Pennsylvania that I'm going to, and if you interrupt me from going there. Then, but again, it's just like, so that's how I see it. And yeah, it is. I'm traveling on quote unquote public roads, but again, man's not doing a crime. The gas tax pays for the fucking road. So, so.
Yeah, I mean, again, this is a bizarre argument that's been settled over and over again. What does even who or what is paying for the upkeep and maintenance of that road have to do with human rights? It's like there's this presumption that because some debt note was exchanged that somebody gets to lose their human rights. I don't see the connection. Right? Like even that is flawed. Oh, well, government only exists to regulate commercial interactions. Who said that they even have a right to do that? I mean, we can play on that square, on that level, but again, where does that presumption and assumption come in? And, you could argue it's because you're trading in their instruments. He who creates controls and has an ability to regulate. So if you're going to trade legal debt notes, well, then the legal society is going to regulate those interactions. I guess. We could argue that when that's become the de facto currency of the land of America, you've essentially created a monopoly to where you can take everyone's human rights because they're almost at all times, all places possessing that instrument and doing some activity and trade of it. I don't accept that premise and that notion. I know it's great for pimping and hoeing and Shatan's spiritual warfare games. I love that. I respect that. Great stuff. It doesn't exactly substantiate or check out in my mind as far as legitimacy and true authority goes into it. It's kind of like a belief, it's a claim, and the only reason that it's substantiated is because everyone's accepted it and not rebutted it.
Yeah. Yeah, Chris, I don't accept that. The government, when did I give them the right to do that? Impost, export. I don't know what imposts and exports are. Is that like international goods?
Right. That's where the clause comes in, and this is what blows everyone's mind and ego wide open. Is it's through the consent of the governed that government can even exist at all, and that doesn't mean 60% voting the other 40 into fascism. It means as Cornell states. I know when Paulie Boy says it has no legitimacy and credence and credibility, but I'm sure when Cornell University says it, it must. Now, I don't know if they've taken it down since, but I've shown it here before. Over a year and a half, 2 years ago, Cornell University will tell you the conceptualization of consent to the government means each and every man and woman. Okay? So sorry to destroy the fascistic party. That having to reveal that this is a voluntary nation, contractual nation, all interactions have to be voluntary and contractual, even a court proceeding. You can't use coercion, duress, and force to elicit compliance. Shocking, I know, right? Just let that sink in. That somehow, some way, why America was supposedly great, the idea of American exceptionalism, was all interactions had to be voluntary and contractually sound. If not, then it was considered treason, tyranny. You only have the power we give you. At any moment, we can revoke that power and revoke our consent individually and collectively. That's the reason that we have guns constitutionally. Did everyone forget that? That these people said, we're going to give everybody a motherfucking gun to avoid being taken over from within by tyrants and traitors, and treasonous code and policy that they've been doing since back in Rome and before that back to Egypt, the cradle of civilization, right? It's been going on from the beginning. Oh, we just wrote a code up today. What does it say? We're coming for every firstborn child to put something in him or do something to him. Oh, okay. And that's legitimate. How? And we're going to follow that. Why? Look, I'm doing Matthew Perry Matt speak now, which some folks think is sarcasm. No, it's Matt speak. We're gonna listen to that. How? We're gonna do that. Why? That has legitimacy. How?
Yeah, I mean it's inversion land, right? The Romans would say, there's only Rome, when the barbarians, quote unquote barbarians, would say that's not our custom. And then the Romans would say, well, there's only Rome, so you're subject to Roman law now. And then the funny thing is people would love to become a Roman citizen because then they've got the, privileges
The
inside of the
benefits and
Roman
privileges, yeah.
Yeah.
You know how much we like that. Right, so nothing's changed. Whether you have an on-record constitution, contractual documentation that binds all agents in place and keeps them essentially bound and latched from overriding or interfering with our rights, the damn paper's only as good as the men and women whose ass put themselves on the line to back that contract. So you show up like a hoe, you're going to get pimped on. That's the bottom line boil down, right? If you don't exercise those rights, if you don't stand on them, well, then you're going to lose them. How cliche can we get? That's where we're at. So the common practice nationwide at this point by most folks is fascism because you let it be. If you want a republic, it's a republic if you can keep it. We're very close to, as far as I perceive, to completely losing that. If it isn't completely gone already, right? I'm really not interested because at the end of the day, this is a moral conversation. This is a moral compass conversation. I will direct myself as much as possible without coercion and duress with what I see as true and correct. And no one else will be involved in that process as much as possible because anything else other than that is slavery by default. And I'm not willing to be a slave any longer. So, this is kind of the sacrifice and consequence from the beginning of time of being born in or on a fascist state is just having the ability to choose to be a man, essentially, is now criminalized. And that's exactly the way Shaitan wants it. This is a spiritual dynamic before it becomes physical.
Yeah, I mean, on some level, like, it's seemingly already gone. I mean, but then again, I still do believe it's weird, man. And this goes from traveling everywhere. Besides war, it seems that everything is like consensual, and maybe even that's a just big psyop. What I'm saying is, like, even on the land here, they still seem to operate on law, and it's mostly everything I see is pretty consensual. It's weird. Like, most people are opting in, and there still is some semblance of law. Like, even the folks at the behind the shadows that set everything up on all the other nations, I think they get it too, that they can't just do evil like directly. It's interesting. So I on some level, I think that's why I get kind of uppity at the guys like Snafu, because all that shit might just be a big psyop. There might not be some big reckoning. It just might be a slow death by 1,000 cuts, and because a cow that's giving you milk, why would you just kill it? So just keep the cow chained up and he can't leave. Yous can't leave. So, I mean, but what do I?
Yeah, but Timmy, I mean, that's like, that's like saying, I'll give you the lower level idea. That's like saying, if you got a bunch of drug addicts, heroin addicts, why would you lace your heroin with fentanyl and kill them all? The only thing that you could come up with is spiritually, the being becomes so corrupt that just sucking off people and parasiting is not enough. They need everything. We want it all. Right? Because again, that's like business model 101. Explain to me why a bunch of drug traffickers would all of a sudden, 50 or 100 years in or more into a heroin situation, just start lacing their product with something that's killing their clientele. You can't explain that logically. The only way it could be explained is spiritually, that there's something inside of us that if left unchecked becomes so corrupt, we destroy not only ourselves, but everyone around us. It wants it all. The money's not good enough anymore. The power's not good enough anymore. The position in the community, right? It's just not good enough anymore. How do we take this to the next level? Death and destruction, kill, steal, destroy, right?
Yeah, man. I mean, perhaps. Perhaps. I mean, Tribe, if you got something to add, like you're making a lot of statements down there that you've perfected traveling privately, would you like to be more direct? Like, how do you do it? Or you want to point to something? Or I mean, I guess that's your MO, right? To just be ambiguous, to retain your privacy, which I respect. But
He's going to do the Wizard USC 1, 2, 3. I only give solutions in the private, so come watch me.
UCC 1, 2, 3. Y'all are all slaves, and that's not me. Your thoughts, Brian?
Yeah, I was just looking up something. Yeah, I like what Paul's saying about the moral aspect of it. Like, people could do whatever the fuck they want.
Can I show you my new clip that reminds me of you, Brian?
You get to receive what you receive. I know what I'm offering. And I'm offering, well, I don't know. Thoughts, Chandler?
Oh my god! I just got
Which
the best
person
clip ever from Talcott's broadcast yesterday. I was scanning it.
Which person am I in that clip?
That's you, the guy who says you get to. He just got done arguing with someone. He goes, "You get to choose what you receive." I know what I'm offering. What am I offering? Well, I don't know. That was amazing.
Oh, thanks for that, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
But yeah, what was I saying? Something about the moral thing? Fuck. I was offering something. I don't know.
You got owned. You got punked out like a bitch. And you don't want to acknowledge it. You don't want to admit it. That's what Satanism is.
Oh, that was another good one, dude. That was pretty cool.
You like that? It was cool.
Yeah, I like your new clips, man. This is cool, man. I got a couple things in the back. My interaction with the police at the police station today. A conversation with a black
Yeah, I
person.
saw your interaction with the police. It froze 3 minutes in for 10 minutes, and we got little to no clarity on what happened. It was terrible.
Yeah, I may have to get the body cam footage to restore clarity to that situation. Because I did get him on record quite a... Today's the Sunday. The plate thing. I also
So you're not really sure what you're offering today, is what you're saying?
You get to receive what you receive. I know what I'm offering. And I'm offering, well, I don't know. Thoughts, Chandler?
Yeah, it was even funnier the second time, dude. I appreciate that.
Thanks.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm really into that clip. I'm going to use that a lot, I think, because I'm really into it.
Yeah, that's
for now.
That's cool, man. But I also have in the back chat, what does it say? Conversation with Soul Player about the black community getting back on the line.
You're doing the Soul Player thing again?
I don't want to trigger you by bringing up his name, but yes, I did bring up his name just now.
You're not triggering me. It's just you're obsessed with Soul Player and you keep following him around.
Well, he came on my show, so.
Oh, okay.
Conversation to me. So.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. So where's this at now? Let's see what O'Shea's offering. 648. $648. All right, so player Brian's Black Daddy.
So how do you think the black community will respond to this back to land movement, like the rights and freedom, no plates on the car type activities?
Numbers dropping.
What's that?
How do you think?
Put me on game, Brian. What's the no plate shit? Tell me what's going on.
So like with me, like I'm driving around with expired plates, you know, and in Las Vegas, I got pulled over for expired tags, and when
He
the
is
cop came to my window, he
constantly in
said,
his
license,
feelers. You
registration,
don't hear
insurance. I
him?
said, what makes you think I need those things? And here we are live streaming. I hopped on Paul's live, and Paul had a conversation with the cops. You know, but this has happened multiple times, like where I put the phone in the cop's face and Paul sort of having a back and forth, you know, sort of acting like counsel or next friend or whatever, sort of speaking for me, which it shouldn't be the way it is. I should be able to speak on my own. I shouldn't. But back then I would kind of lean on Paul. But now I feel like I don't want Paul talking for me no more. I want to do all the talking, no matter what, win, lose, or draw. So like, but like, so yeah, I ended up getting arrested because I didn't give up an ID, and I got my car towed. But you know, Paul's audience helped me out with the towing fee, so that was nice. You know, it was a nice little experience like that. I learned a lot from. I feel like I leveled up a lot from that. All of a sudden, I had more confidence and I give less of a fuck about certain things, even in comedy and different things. So for some reason, it was a level up for me getting arrested. And like, so then I left Vegas, right? What were you saying?
No, go ahead.
So then I left Vegas, like the big city, right? And I came to the smaller town. The first thing I did basically when I got into town was go right to the police station and be like, hey, I'm thinking about taking the plates off my car. How y'all feel about this? And then, you know, I kind of was going back and forth explaining why different pieces of property. Why do some pieces of property got to be registered and need license for, and some piece of property you don't? And I'm like, man, I'm just thinking about taking these plates off. I'm letting you guys know who I am and what I'm about, basically. And then they're like, at the end of the thing, the sergeant's like, well, you know what? If we see you driving around, I'm probably just going to wave at you. So, you know, it's kind of on record. I didn't really like force them to explain what that means, like that they're not going to definitively fuck with me. But I could always go back to the police station. Like tomorrow, I plan on stopping down there sometime this week and having more conversation about even other things, having, you know, just more and more conversations. Like, and so like, but just to get my point out, like, and then the back to the land type shit is just like being self-sufficient, having a piece of land, farming, gardening, like getting out of these big cities, having a more rural lifestyle. Maybe like the old,
Numbers dropping.
what you
He
would
is
consider like
constantly
your old
in his
grandfathers and
feelers.
shit
You
used to
don't
be able
hear
to do,
him?
like with gardening and shit.
I mean, they talk that shit, but they don't want, man. It's kind of like what you were trying to tell Pop, or it was either Timmy trying to tell Pop, bro. I'm here to firsthand tell you, do not believe these back to Africa, backpack, conscience, dread wearing, I believe in Allah, whatever the fuck they talking about. I'm so intelligent, black people, when it comes like, man, bro, they not gonna try to build no land. They gotta go to Whitey to get their paycheck. Where they going?
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like, that's why.
Ryan O'Shea, numbers are tanking insanely.
Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate that. I like that clip there too. I hope to see more of it.
So basically, it was just you explaining to your black daddy everything you've been doing lately and wanting to know like what he feels about it.
Yeah, he completely seemed to go against it though, and has no interest in anything I'm saying, which I think is interesting.
You realize that you regularly drop hints to your like subconscious resentment about me?
I'm doing that with Soul Player?
Well, yeah. I mean, you do that just regularly with me, like about me. You do that regularly.
How does it apply to this conversation with Soul Player?
No, I'm just saying it's something you might want to look at because you seem to hold some kind of resentment toward me. Just comes out at like every chance you get when you're not around me talking to other people. Kind of comes out.
Did you notice it so far in what I said to him?
Well, yeah, it's like, oh, Paul was doing all the talking for me. I don't want that anymore. And it's like, well, did I need that? Did I force that? Or did I do what was necessary because you couldn't? Or wouldn't? Maybe you can, but wouldn't.
Yeah, I think maybe that's how I was, but now I'm saying I like to do the.
You're doing the Talcott like was like a week ago. Like a week ago, I was this, but now I'm not. You know, Paul used to talk for me, but now I don't want that. It's like guys like you, like people on here, have no idea what brotherhood and loyalty is. Just like the guy who I was with in that video, who I speak highly of, right? And even give things to. Like in a couple of the videos, I go, hey, hold this for a second while I'm doing all the fucking work and making the change happen and was the reason he was inspired to do what the fuck he was doing. We'll put all that aside, right? He's like, I'm not going to hold your shit for you. What do you think I am? This is the attitude I get from folks as I'm like on the front lines doing it all and being it all when I don't have all the answers for myself in life. It's like incredible to me how folks speak to me, speak about me, you know, and it's like I could imagine if we had to go to fucking war, right? Like what it would be like. It's fascinating to me to see like the revelations of the subconscious mind and how much bitterness and resentment and division and just lack of self-worth and esteem folks have and how they're constantly viewing everything as some kind of power game, right? And then like I'm forced to have to see it the way they see it and then call it out because they're constantly projecting that I'm doing it. Right. And it's like, oh, you must think you're better than me because you asked me to occupy a secondary position. No, that's what you're fit for right now. You know it and I know it. Why are we bullshitting ourselves and each other?
I don't know. Are you saying you'd rather talk to me?
No, absolutely not. I think it's a great thing in a sense that you're kind of developing your own legs with this thing, right? That you're just going to have faith, not in Paulie Boy or in what he does or says, but in like yourself and whatever God you serve and whatever truth is in your heart, you know, and it's not like you get it from me. It may come through me like it does other folks, but you know, it's about like bringing the truth versus the person bringing the truth, right? You know, I'm not asking you to at all or anybody or anything to be reverent necessarily or worship me. Right. This is about the truth that I'm bringing to this forum. If anything, it's not about me. But again, it is just kind of indicative at times of like I've seen it over and over again that for whatever reason, because I'm willing to take charge and be authentically me and stand out rather than fit in while inspiring folks on one hand, it seems there's a lot of bitterness and resentment on the other hand. When it's like, I thought that my whole purpose was to fuck up and do everything fucked up and bad and wrong in order to learn how to be somewhat of a godly or truthful or faithful man. And of course, that's tested at times in order to show other people that that's possible for them as well, right? And then like we're kind of bonded in that. We kind of have a loyalty to that. And yeah, I just noticed that oftentimes, like when something needs to happen the way it needs to happen, it's like after the fact, everyone gets 20/20 hindsight vision and starts calling it how it should have been or, you know, downing it or judging it or condemning it. It's a lack of faith quality, right? As far as I'm concerned, it's like an unthankful, ungrateful lack of faith quality. Like as if there was anything else that could have happened at that time or was meant to happen, right? Everything's happening as it's meant to happen. Whether I'm making choices or not, and others are making choices or not, it's clear that on the highest level, somehow, some way, this shit's all happening the way it's meant to, regardless of how mysterious, mystical, insane it looks at times. There's some order to the chaos, right? So that's all I'm saying, man. Like I started out this broadcast saying, I would really look at yourself and your relationship to me and your relationship to the truth and question it. Right. And be really honest with yourself. If not with me, be really honest with yourself and just look over yourself. Is there any bitterness? Is there any resentment? Is there any place where maybe you feel you could have or could do and be more? And because you're not, you're projecting onto me that I'm bad because I am or know that I am or need to. Right. That's all I'm saying. Because again, man, I'm tired of having relationships with folks where when the shit comes down to it, right, in times of peace, quote unquote, or war, I have to like receive their bitterness and resentment and unthankful, ungrateful, lack of faith ways. And it's fucking burdening and draining on me. I'm not victiming, right? I'm not complaining even. That seems to be the walk of whatever the fuck this is. So, you know, I guess I'm just speaking from preference, and that's probably oftentimes a mistake. Because again, I just finished saying what's meant to happen is meant to happen, and then also injecting my wants or non-wants into the situation. And I guess I just have to steel myself to whoever and whatever's meant to be there at the end is going to be there. And for the rest who can't see the vision or can't be thankful and grateful for what's occurred and what may occur, I guess I just have to let it be that. So your thoughts on any of that, if you have any? If not, it's just me venting, right? We'll chalk it up as that.
Yeah, I think I'm not really seeing what you're seeing. Like, yeah, I at least in this conversation, but yeah, apart from this conversation, like you brought something into it that could be there. I could have resentments and fears towards you, but as far as this conversation with Soul Player, there was no reason to bring it up. I mean, it's fine to bring it up because there could be something there, but as far as this interaction with
my
Soul
point
Player,
is nobody's less of a man in a sense because at certain times they may have to allow me or others to help them. Right. So, like, if you believe you are that, then you're going to talk like that's the case. And to me, subconsciously, there's going to be resentment there. You know, so like if that is the case, if anybody's less of a man, well, then that's something they did or didn't do. Somebody simply helping them or providing assistance or just riding out with them one way or the other is not a negative thing. That's a positive thing. Right. Oftentimes I'm confused why folks speak about me like I'm something that's like a daddy that they didn't want to have. Like I'm chasing them around or doing something for them or to them they didn't ask for. And it's like, no, I thought we we're brothers in arms in this. I thought that at times I may have to use my talents and abilities to shield others in a sense, or to try to mitigate the loss, injury, or harm, or try to create some kind of an interaction. Maybe that's my own self burden and like self-imposed obligation, guilt complex, right? But yeah, it's like, you know, there's just been times in life where like I've stood up and stepped out and tried to do what my heart says is true and what's right because I cared about someone or something. And I turn around and it seems folks like misinterpret what that is. That like I think I'm better than them or like stronger than them or I'm beyond them because I may have an understanding or a talent or ability or just a will that other motherfuckers may not possess at the time or may not be willing to use. And I always wonder, like, what am I doing or not doing that creates that? Is it the fucking, you know, the expounded ego at times where I fuck with people and I grind on their ego or their sense of self or I cause them to question? They think that I'm like bigger and badder and beyond them as a beingness.
Yeah, when I tell him that I don't want you anymore to speak for me, I'd rather do it myself. It's not a slight on you. It really has nothing to do.
Why do you even have to tell him any of that? Hey, you know, before Paulie Boy was speaking for me, but you know, I don't want him to do that no more. I want to speak for myself. I mean, listen, I'm not telling you not to express authentically. That's an authentic expression. I'm not telling you that's not a good thing. The point is, why are you telling him or anyone else on here what you're doing and not doing? Why, how? And then you get what I'm saying? Is am I making sense or like, am I not being?
I think you're making yourself the focus of something that has really nothing to do with you. I was simply telling him an experience.
I just want to know why, like, there's so much pillow talk online and in these interactions about what's already happened and what should happen. And it's like, okay, then do that, bro. Be that. Nobody's been stopping you this whole time from doing and being whatever you need to be. What's the point of even bringing it up and telling him about any of that shit? So you can like act like you're your own man. That's all I get from it. Hey, so player, I wasn't my own man completely before, but now I am. Love me, daddy. That's what I mean by that daddy shit, bro. I'm not trying to insult you. It's just like you're looking for validation or invalidation, it seems.
The focus of the conversation is about Black people getting their thoughts on getting back to the land movement and not putting plates on the car. And you've somehow made it all
right.
about
How does any of that relate to me talking for you and you not wanting that anymore?
Because as part of the conversation with him, I brought up my recent arrest.
Timmy, check me, bro. If I'm like, am I making something more out of something that's nothing?
I don't think so. I mean, on some level, they're like, O'Shea, you've heard it from me before about the validation thing. But I mean, a conversation with Soul Player, you could have just said here what you were telling him. Like, I don't know. Like, I mean, I don't.
You guys didn't even hear his response. The main thing is to hear a Black man's response to a back to land movement. You didn't even listen to any of that yet. You guys are completely missing the point.
Right. I just don't like, again, I'm not trying to condemn you or make a judgment. I'm just saying what I've learned about this psychology game and sub-psychology is when there's smoke, there's fire. And when folks go out of their way to talk about something, there's probably a feeling there, right? Or a belief. So, like, for you to go from black on the land movement and say you're waiting for an answer to Paul used to speak for me, but now that's not going to happen anymore because it's just like you're going to tell me that as students of psychology and sociology that there's probably not something there.
Yeah, I think we should just continue to listen to his
All
response.
right, let's continue.
I think if you, like, you as the way I look at you, could be like an influence and like a leader to the black community. Like, if you could adopt the mentality and sort of somehow get the point across and show the benefits of this type of mentality of getting out of big cities, getting more to, like I said, rural things, thinking of having a piece of land and a garden and not being dependent on the store and the food and the paychecks and even the taxes, like having certain mentality about paying taxes.
Bro,
he does this Vinnie Barbarino thing too when he gets around black folks, where he starts to become more and more black or like Italian. You know, I might do the same thing. I'm not necessarily creating a division there, but like I've noticed that he's like there's this affect that kind of grows and grows the more he's talking to a black person. That might be an indication of your racism that they talked about. You think you need to be something different than who and what you are around these black folks, and you need to mimic them.
everything you're talking about, it's a group of black people, just like it's a group of white people or Asian people. I'm pretty sure in every fucking community there's.
I just want to dance, so player. That's all I'm saying. I just want to dance.
I've already one second. This is like 2001, 2002. Yeah. I got my papers back for how they say grand sovereignty of the nation, claiming the whole giving my citizenship to. I don't want to go into that, but like, and which, you know, this is where all the taxes come in, and I actually was with a place where you're talking about had all the on land school system, you know, everything you're saying. Like, I've seen a group of black people here in America go set all that shit up. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, man, if you don't, when they want you, man, and it's not enough of us. That's why I'm on it. Like, it gotta be a fight where the people come together, which brings me to this, because I heard you saying this, because like you just killed one of my theories in my mind, because like black people think just like the average white person got the police on lock. And I ain't saying, when I mean by on lock, they got, you know, come on, a police uncle or cousin or granddad or somewhere they can get. So in my mind, that's one reason why I want to be around. I'm like, yeah, man, get them police over here. Get the police over here, because, you know, in our community, talking to police in any form is snitching, right? So, but like, nah, fuck that. How the fuck am I to know to get out these situations? I don't want to hear from y'all people who went through it, when I can hear from the people who actually set the shit. They can tell me how to avoid situations. They can tell me what needs to be said. Avoid this area over here. We need the police force, but who's down with us on that police force to help us, the people who can say, yeah, bro, officer over there, my officer such and such.
Why do you have him so low, O'Shea? Why is this guy's volume so low on your great segment that you produced?
I don't think I was controlling that, or if I could have gone into settings and looked at it, I didn't like.
You got to monitor him and then tell him, speak up, pipe up, black slave. You got to tell him. You don't remember that one?
Yesterday,
Pipe up, fat slave, if you got something to say. If not, keep your fucking face like this, like how I keep mine. Stoic, like a man.
Yeah, I didn't notice it yesterday. I'm noticing it now.
Another fucked up bit, like your freeze stream earlier, where you did 15 minutes with the cop's face frozen and no conversation. Another destroyed bit. I got the audience down there just tanking numbers and telling me we can't hear nothing.
I think the dynamic, O'Shea, is that there's almost like a reaching, like you're sort of, I know that the panels and attempting to establish sort of, you know, fellowships with other folks is one way to, you know, have an effect. And to do a stream by definition is to do something to kind of connect with others, right? But
Thank fucking Christ, Timmy. Yeah, whatever. Jack Talcott's here now, and that's a load off my shoulders. You guys are fucking dead weight. The bits are terrible. Jack, you see what the fuck I deal with here every day? And now I'm getting in my feelers, just like Brian O'Shea with his constant bitch energy.
He is constantly in his feelers. You don't hear him? He gets going on his fucking rants. It's this feminine bitch energy coming out of him. Strong. Man's got away with words.
He does. That guy's going places, right? Once we get over this little hump of like houselessness and destroyed career and family, that guy's going places. Just like the same thing I'd say about me at one time. Once we get over these 3 humps here, this guy's going places.
Well, Paul, that's kind of the elephant I wanted to discuss today.
Jack, please don't call me an elephant to my face. Okay, if you're gonna insult me like that, do it behind my back.
No, it's the obvious.
Oh, this kid, right? Another chubby fellow.
Is that really Snafu?
Who else would it be?
Well, it means he survived. Good to see
the ambassador of desperation is here to enlighten us all.
Yeah, I just see Brian reaching really bad on that clout ride, and it's kind of funny to watch him fail.
He's chasing that clout like he chases that gambling high at them casinos and everything else.
Bad. You could see what he's doing. First it was the call, then it was this, and then Black.
We've all done it. We've done it. It's part of the journey here, you know.
Yeah, it's just hilarious to watch him reach so far and fail.
Right, I'm the guy who I reach, and then once I grasp and hold what it is I've been reaching for so long, I drop it rather quickly. I'm one of those guys, right? They're reaching, never get. I reach and get, and then I drop because I go. Turns out I didn't want this. I thought I wanted this. They all want this. They're liking this. I'm like, it's not for me.
You might be attached to the chase,
right?
Than the receiving. I'm guessing.
Yeah, it's the journey, not the destination, is revealed to us is where the fulfillment comes. Once you get all the things that you think you're striving for, the realization comes what it was really about, right? It's like a comedian who does well. He pines for the days when he was living in the car, eating crackers, because there was struggle there. There was a journey there. Once you get the stage and once you get the crowd and once you got the followers and the money and whatever else, it's just it's not the same, right? It's like that. We have a nostalgia for the self-chosen suffering. This is the irony of the human condition, right? We romanticize our self-chosen suffering because somehow, some way, it brings us purpose and meaning and faith, it would seem. It's really not about the attainment. It's about the practice. That's what I learn over and over again in every venue.
It is, but the downside of the world we live in is victimhood has been glorified. So people are proud of their failures and their shortcomings and their problems. So proud they keep their problems around for a long time. That's
right. It's like Mike Tyson. Look at Mike Tyson. Once he gets the championship, he realizes he never really wanted it. He just wanted to fight and be good at it. Yeah, he just wanted to conquer. Right? Was it ever really about the glitz and the glamour and the fame and the money and that? No, he threw all that shit away over and over again. Right? So the purpose and meaning was in the action, one way or the other.
Yeah. I think a lot of successful people actually, I believe they rise there because they're trying to prove their worth to themselves.
Yeah, there's an element of that. I think there's a lot of creative people who are star quality folks. I mean, if you're going to throw me into the category of star quality, part of the upbringing, it seems necessary for some of that is you didn't get the attention or XYZ from the folks in the home that you got out in the world or with your endeavor, your talents and abilities, right? So it may provide a sense of individual identity, a sense of self-worth that maybe you were lacking in the home, right? So, you may argue, like the Spartan upbringing, right? You put the baby on the hill and you give him less, and then in life he seeks to do and be more. I don't know how much of that is necessary or imposed because we believe it's necessary, if that makes sense.
That's an interesting, yes, I agree with that. That's an interesting question. Is it because we believe or because it works? Or does it work because we believe? Right? So, but hey, back to the elephant. You've got the keys now to my stream, correct? You accepted it?
Yeah, but let's be real, Jack Talcott. They're limited keys. You didn't give me the real keys, like where I can do everything.
Right. I gave you the co-host.
I don't know. Something about that feels like you still don't really trust me all the way. It's like you're dabbling with trust and equity, but you can't go all the way. I need a full commitment from you today that I can create streams, destroy streams, that I can put you out, bring you in. I need full power and control, because that's where the trust, it has to be in equity, right? In equality. It's not without merit, right? It's not without a healthy understanding that I will not be sabotaging you or self-sabotaging more than I'm used to doing as a regular human being, which of course is a big if.
Two things. I'd like to help you stop the self-sabotage, and I think you can help me stop some of my self-sabotage. Now, where we're at with the keys, it's a step. And communication. What you're offering, what you're saying, it's not off the table, but we're not there yet. And
no, you're not there yet. You struggle with trust issues and fears because most people in your life have neglected you, abandoned you, abused you, or just at the least cannot seem to understand you or reconcile who and what you are. I'm probably one of, if not the only person who has shown the opposite of those traits, thereby verifying for you it would be beneficial to take a leap. I don't need it. I'm kind of doing the bit non-bit, right? Like we're like, I need that because I'm Paul Enslaved. The reality of it is you probably need that to set a new pattern with a new type of person. That would be me.
This is where I'd like you to consider. I'd like to overcome that idea, because I don't need this. I think we could really enjoy working together, and I think we could do some great things. But all these other people, this is what the actual thought that brought me up here. I was sitting back and reflecting on how many people I have invited to partner up and to work with me towards who knows what level of success we can achieve, but I know I don't fucking stop. So I'm inviting people to work with me, and yet people are offended by my offer. They want to insult me and make fun of me, and I'm like, well, isn't that interesting? I know communication is the way to get beyond that, and Paul, you are one of the very few people who actually communicates with me.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of tough in this life to maintain a practice of faith, and whatever's meant to be is meant to be, when in the moment, oftentimes what's happening is not how we expected it to happen or what we want to happen, right? I was watching you last night, and I thought you had a good kind of back and forth with the kid Chandler going, and there was one moment, right? I'm not trying to be hypercritical or judgmental or any of that. I'm just pointing out what I saw. There was one moment where you got into this resistance. Because he was talking a little bit longer than you wanted him talking, the whole let's get back to me thing. Now, part of us, the mischievous clown, and all of us, the troll, we love it. We love watching Jack go into Mr. Hyde and watch the change come over him and go, Chandler, yeah, you kind of been talking, and I'd like to answer the question, right? And it's like, it's just that it's that quick. It's that quick. It's that subtle. There's your problem, and within contains its own solution, because I've been watching you for over a year and a half now, and it seems it's gotten better, right? Where you can kind of go with the flow. You can take the light off you, let someone else bring some truth. It doesn't have to be all about Jack all the time, right? That's something we all learn on here in this process, because either we want to be seen and heard and validated, or we feel an obligation when we come on here that we're supposed to be the ones to bring the content, to bring the conversation, to bring the answer. That can work for you. It can also work against you, right? That's just something I've learned in life and on here. So again, I'm giving you credit where I believe it's due. Over time, I've seen you get a lot better with that, not being reactive, kind of just let it go where it's meant to go, and then creating, you know, a conversation or order out of it. But yeah, it was, I don't know, I loved it. I cracked up laughing, and I knew that you knew, right? Like, because I watch you and I can read you because I know myself, and I watch you go into it, and then I watch you realize that you're doing it, and then go, okay, let me get away from this because we don't need that, right? We don't need the division, the competition, you know, the resistance, right? It's not necessary to do a broadcast. We oftentimes feel it maybe, but I think a lot of times we've been trained for that in these cultures and in these venues, right? That there has to be some gossip, controversy, chaos in order to bring entertainment or meaning. Not necessarily the case.
You said a lot. You observed me accurately. And thank you for seeing the growth. That's the good. You saw that. You see the good. I appreciate that. And I have been growing. The idea, I actually, where I think that's coming from is I have a different idea of what I'm doing and what I'm hoping to achieve. And then I don't know, maybe I see people not supporting that. I see them doing their own thing.
Yeah, but that's this is where the Tao comes in, right? Like governing in leadership and in governance, even, we have to let be what is, right? And that's one of the hardest things I think that we learn on this path. If we are going to take a path or are chosen for a path on some level of leadership or ministry, that the best leadership in ministry is one where folks believe they've done it all themselves, right?
Yep.
And again, it's the same kind of thing that I do with Brian O'Shea, where I will point out where he may be holding something. It doesn't mean that I'm taking it personal, because again, if we go back to the Tao, he's almost supposed to, by the end of this, say, I've had great results, everything's better, and I did it all on my own. It's almost worse for him to say, Paulie did it all for me, right? So yeah, in a way, if I'm leading and guiding properly, then I see the move. I know what's going to happen. I know how that being is going to turn out, and I really don't have to control that or diminish that or alter that or manufacture something, right? I can push buttons at times, and we can do the simulation stimuli, but it really doesn't have to be controlled and directed. People will know what they need to know when the time is right, when whatever is meant to come forth comes forth, either in you, you know, or others around you.
That's actually what I'm learning to trust. And thank you. You offered a perfect reminder. The Tao and the flow, that is a big part of leadership. If you want to be a leader and you lead others, you got to accept them for what they show to some degree, and then lead them in the direction you want, not oppose and get upset with them like I tend to do.
Yeah, we all have that at times because we believe we have an answer, even if we do or not, if we know that or not. Like, we believe or know that we have an answer or solution, and we expect that when we bestow it upon others, it's going to be taken and ran with. And oftentimes that's not this process, and that's not the case. The process of fellowship and repentance and reformation and faith and addiction seems to be a long one, and it seems to be a constant practice, and it seems to be wrought with tests and challenges and you know, what would be the word, you know, the enticing, right, the sort of seductive aspects of this walk and this creation. So yeah, man, when we take life on life's terms, we realize life is a long game, you know, from our perspective, right, of time. So that means it's not over till it's over, right? And that's the thing we always lose in the moment. I'm just speaking on what I know about me.
Damn, you said something, brought up a thought. Sorry. Hey, yes. We're all learning and growing. And life. It's real easy to get caught up. Actually, that's where it was. You were offering that, you know, we offer the answers that we know could be helpful, we think could be helpful, and it doesn't seem to do. The world is going to be what it is, and we got to figure out how to navigate ourselves through. The thought I was thinking earlier, though, we live in duality, right? So it's all rhythm and opposites, polarities. It's all cause and effect. And so when you find one, you can find the other. What I see the problem of our world, everyone thinks they have answers. And those who think they have answers don't wonder. Those who don't wonder, they think of their own answers. We've got answers, but people don't listen to each other.
Yeah, I mean, I look at a lot of these mechanisms of thought or even emoting as tools, in a sense, at times. I think they're natural inclinations, and then there's also the aspect of we are non-being, we use the body and everything that it is or extends off of it. Thoughts and emotions is one of those, a few of those things, right? So wonder is good for a being who doesn't wonder. For a being who's always wondering, again, it can be a tool that maybe you're overusing, because we know the analysis paralysis game.
That.
As beings the way that we are, I know that we're beings who come here who generally are analytical and overthinking, and we're like in a wanderlust of wonder. You know, wanderlust of wonder. This is what's the guy's name again? They hit me with the copyright for the traveling guy. But yeah, it's like, you know, at a certain point, there's the middle way of everything, right? To not wonder is detrimental. To over wonder is detrimental.
Right.
There has to be some aspect of acceptance of what you found through your wonder and your firsthand experience, and a surrender of all the rest of the things that could or couldn't be. Because it's not within your control, right? That is the serenity prayer. We know that. Change what can be changed, what can't be let go of. The problem is, as you spoke about, oftentimes we can't even imagine or perceive of the system's dynamics and what could be changed. So oftentimes we remain in situations that could be changed for way too long because we can't envision a different outcome or don't wish to. We could if we wanted to. We don't wish to. We're comfortable in our suffering and our warring.
That's exactly what's happened. Hey, along those lines, there was that example you gave of, damn it. Is it because we believe it works, or it works because we believe it? Take that thought along with the idea of the long road of recovery. It appears like it's a long road. Everything seems challenging and hard. It's all difficult until we get past it. And that includes our patterns of the past, our inability to think beyond what we've had in the past. We can train ourselves to do better.
Right. Or we could just retain a state of mindlessness, right? We're back to mindfulness. You practice mindfulness at times. You practice mindlessness at times. Because oftentimes you can't imagine or think out everything that's going to happen or potentially going to happen, nor should you try.
That's true,
right?
too.
Just moving into something different will give you a result. If the more result, this is why I say to folks, I almost prefer a world where folks abandon the notion of good and evil and just generate results. Right. If you generate enough results for long enough that go the same way, unless you're completely brain dead like my father, you know, and of course I'm doing a bit of a bit non-bit there because it's only taken him 60 years to start to realize a lot of the shit that many of us realize, you know, over the course of maybe a 4 to 10 year period of maturation and like coming of age story and age of reasoning. I don't want to get into it. I'm venting a bit there, subconscious venting. There's an unreconciled thing in my life, and I'd prefer, once again, Paulie with the preference, what a fool, I'd prefer we could tie up those loose ends, but again, long game, faith, get it when we're meant to get it, maybe sometimes not at all, and there's always a next go around, it would seem, right? The next incarnation. But yeah, perspective will fuck you, right? And double fuck you, because perception may not be reality, but it is your reality until you change it, you know, and that's oftentimes where we lie is folks look and what they see, they perceive as real. We're back to the, is this real or not real thing? You know, is government real? Is politics real? Is your first responders medical system real? It is till it isn't. How about that? it's Schrodinger's cat, Talcott. It is till it isn't.
Right. And if you believe it's real, it's the only place you're going to go. Right.
There's no other mechanism or other system or other choices to solve the problems that these organizations seek to tackle, right? And resolve.
Hey, speaking of today, April 15th, tax day. I had a conversation with my mother yesterday, and oh my God, these fucking demons, the governments, the fear that they place into the minds of our people. My mom's so afraid of her penalties and all this shit. I don't know how to calm her mind, but this crap is evil. This world we're living in. And tax day. Fuck, oh dear.
This is what I want you to tell the tax people. I want you, instructor, to tell the tax people this.
You get to receive what you receive. I know what I'm offering. And I'm offering, well, I don't know. Thoughts, Chandler?
You get to receive what you receive, right? You just talk right around the problem. You get to receive what you receive, which may be nothing. And I know what I'm offering. What am I offering? I don't know, because I don't really know who and what you are, what you're expecting, and why and how.
I'm offering me, but that's where I censored myself. I stopped myself from saying I'm offering me. Because I'm sick of
you felt like that wasn't good enough, right? We've convinced you online with our critique and criticism and devaluation of you that you're not even worth anything now. So why even say that? I prefer you go back to your grandiose narcissism, where you is not only enough, it is the solution to all the world's problems. You'd at least need confidence if you're going to do this fucking rap. So go back to that. All Jack's offering is him, and that's good enough. Not only is it good enough, it's the solution to the world's problems. And if you don't see it that way, go fuck yourself, kindly. Please.
Politely.
See how easy that was?
Well, part of it too, though, my censors, I don't care. I've stopped caring about what people think. It's like, I care about what people are doing. What are people doing, man? This world is so insane.
You realize we're indirectly a part of the world, technically. So you just called all of us insane. And I'm not necessarily arguing with you completely.
Oh. Well, I've heard it said, I should grab my book, How to Become a Christ.
Get the book.
It talks about the insanity of us. Here. Yeah, I'll be right. I don't know where it is. I got stuff. Some things are packed. Some things are not packed. I don't know where things are at right now.
Can I give you Mark Passio's characterization of the truth community and the freedom movement? I think you'll enjoy it. I'm not even going to ask you. I'm just going to play it because I think you'll enjoy it.
Scumbag, demented, defective fucking mental apes. That's what you guys are in the freedom movement. You're morons. Everywhere, you're morons.
He's not wrong. He's not entirely wrong. This is what our world is insane. The evidence is Joe Biden, Donald Trump, Bill Gates, Fauci, all these other names that we all know.
Brian O'Shea.
He's not quite as famous as his reputation precedes, but
right.
yet he's just beginning. I think there's a bunch of us who were, I don't know. I can only speak for myself, but I know there's others who have gone through. They're like, whoa, what the fuck's going on in this world? This ain't right. We're all going through an awakening, and the reality is we're here. Let's see what we can get done.
Your thoughts, Brian O'Shea? You've been very quiet lately. Too quiet, some might say.
Yeah, I'm reading a beautiful excerpt from the Oera, the oldest doctrine. I'd like to read it, but you don't have to.
No, go ahead and read it, sir.
Okay, so it says the oldest doctrine. Hail to all the well-intentioned children of Freya. Through them the earth shall become holy. Learn to announce to the people Waralda is the ancient of ancients, for he created all things. Waralda is the all in all, for he is eternal and everlasting. Waralda is omnipresent but invisible, and therefore is called the Spirit. All that we can see of him are the created beings who come to life through him and go again, because from Waralda all things proceed and return to him. Waralda is the beginning and the end. Waralda is the only almighty being, because from him all other strength comes and returns to him.
Right. This is how you identify a good idea is, and you can continue, but just quickly, all of the ancient cultures have pretty much the same story about certain things. And then something happens where they seem to just start projecting and injecting all of their beliefs and wants and non-wants and fantastical, meanderings onto what is, right? So it's like you could go to the Oera, you can go to the Tao, you can go to the Hindu text, right? It's all going to tell you essentially the same thing. Go ahead, Brian O'Shea, continue.
Therefore, he alone is the creator, and nothing exists without him. Waralda established eternal principles upon which the laws of creation were founded, and no good laws could stand on any other foundation. But although everything is derived from Waralda, the wickedness of men does not come from him. Wickedness comes from heaviness, carelessness, and stupidity. Therefore, they may well be injurious to men, but never to Waralda. Waralda is wisdom, and the laws that he has made are the books from which we learn, nor is any wisdom to be found or gathered but in them. Men may see a great deal, but Waralda sees everything. Men can learn a great deal, but Waralda knows everything. Men can discover much, but to Waralda everything is open. Mankind are male and female, but Waralda created both. Mankind love and hate, but Waralda alone is just. Therefore Waralda is good, and there is no good without him. In the progress of time, all creation alters and changes, but goodness alone is unalterable. And since Waralda is good, he cannot change. As he endures, he alone exists. Everything else is show. The second part of the oldest doctrine. Among finished people, there are false teachers.
No, just real quick. The only place that I would disagree is when these traditions have this way of trying to separate this experience into its like parts away from the whole, and they create this division as if like the devil is not part of creation and the creational experience, nor is evil. Right? You could argue the dance of creation can only exist and be fruitful or meaningful or purposeful because of the darkness. Without that, you don't have the protagonist, so to speak, in the story. You don't have the element that draws out all of the good and bad within the supposed hero or individual on the journey to consciousness, actualization, and realization. We almost need that. We're back to the Luke, I am your father bit, right? Like without that darkness, the void of creation, like the universe shows, the dark void, there is no light. So one almost comes before the other, precedes the other. It's just like the darkness of the mind. It replicates the darkness of the void of the universe, that all things come through. All the light is then born or bared through that void. So it's like, I just don't understand this. I think it's a cultural thing, right? It like stems from the patriotism and the culture and the society and the dogma, a lot of it. It's like when you go, like the Tao says, beyond good and evil, you can reconcile all things. That this evil, this journey, this test, this challenge is necessary for our growth and becoming. Without it, we would just stagnate. Your thoughts? That's you, creature?
Good afternoon. How's everyone doing?
How are you, sir? You're not going to come here and do the Christ is King of Kings thing, are you? Because in Unslaved, if you ask a lot of these people, Paul Unslaved is King of Kings. So we have a conflict of interest.
I mean, bro, you're allowed to be King of Unslaved, bro. I don't debate that.
Oh, King of Kings. for the Unslavians, right? It's about perspective. If you ask the folks who are followers of Jesus Cristo, they'll tell you he's King of Kings. If you ask the followers of Unslavia, they'll say Paul Enslaved is King of Kings.
I mean, I agree.
Here we go. He's already being too diplomatic for my liking. Something's up. He's being too equitable. He's being too forgiving and gracious. Go ahead, Rant Creature. I know you didn't come up here empty-handed.
Right, I'm just, you know what I mean? I'm just trying to come and kick it to shit.
The second part of the oldest doctrine. Among Finda's people, there are false teachers who, by their over-inventiveness, have become so wicked that they make themselves and their adherents believe that they are the best part of Waralda, that their spirit is the best part of Waralda's spirit, and that Waralda can only think by the help of their brains. That every creature is part of Waralda's eternal being that they have stolen from us. But their false reasoning and ungovernable pride have brought them on the road to ruin. If their spirit was Waralda's spirit, then Waralda would be very stupid, instead of being sensible and wise. For their spirit labors to create beautiful statues which they afterwards worship. Finda's people are a wicked people, for although they presumptuously pretend among themselves that they are gods, they proclaim the unconsecrated false gods and declare everywhere that these idols created the world and all that therein is. Greedy idols, full of envy and anger, who desire to be served and honored by the people, and who exact bloody sacrifices and rich offerings. But these presumptuous and false men, who call themselves gods, servants, and priests, receive and collect everything in the name of the idols that have no real existence for their own benefit. They do all this with an easy conscience, as they think themselves gods not answerable to anyone. If there are some who discover their tricks and expose them, they hand them over to the executioners to be burnt for their calamities, with solemn ceremonies in honor of the false gods, but really in order to save themselves. In order that our children may be protected against these idolatrous doctrine, the duty of the maidens is to make them learn by heart the following. Waralda existed before all things and will endure after all things. Waralda is also eternal and everlasting, therefore nothing exists without him. From Waralda's life sprang time and all living things, and his life takes away time and every other thing. These things must be made clear and manifest in every way so that they can be made clear and comprehensible to all. When we have learned thus much, then we say further, in what regards our existence, we are part of Waralda's everlasting being, like the existence of all created beings, but as regards our form, our qualities, our spirit, and all our thoughts, these do not belong to the being. All these are passing things which appear through Waralda's life and which appear through his wisdom and not otherwise. But whereas his life is continually progressing, nothing can remain stationary. Therefore, all created things change their locality, their form, and their thoughts. So neither the earth nor any other created object can say, I am, but rather I was. No man can say, I think, but rather I thought. The boy is greater and different from the child. He has different desires, inclinations, and thoughts. The man and father feels and thinks differently from the boy. The old man just the same. Everybody knows that. Besides, everybody knows and must acknowledge that he is now changing, that he changes every minute, even while he says, I am, and that his thoughts can change even while he says, I think. Instead, then, of imitating Finda's wicked people and saying, I am the best part of Waralda, and through us alone he can think, we proclaim everywhere where it is necessary. We, Fry's children, exist through Waralda's life. In the beginning, mean and base, but always advancing toward perfection without ever attaining the excellence of Waralda himself. Our spirit is not Waralda's spirit. It is merely a shadow of it. When Waralda created us, he lent us his wisdom, brains, organs, memory, and many other good qualities. By this means, we are able to contemplate his creatures and his laws. And this means we can learn and can speak of them always and only for our own benefit. If Waralda had given us no organs, we should have known nothing and been more irrational than a piece of seaweed driven up and down by the ebb and flood. There's more. This is written on parchment, give lip speech, in answer to the other maidens as example. An unsociable, avaricious man to complain to truth, who was the maid of Stavia. He said a thunderstorm had destroyed his house. He had prayed to Waralda, but Waralda had given him no help. Are you a true Phrygian? Truce asked. From father and forefathers, replied the man. Then she said, I will sow something in your consciousness and confidence that will take root, grow, and bear fruit. She continued, when Faria was born, our mother stood naked and bare, unprotected from the rays of the sun. She could ask no one, and there was no one who could give her any help. Then Meralda wrought in her conscious inclination and love, anxiety and fright. She looked around her, and her inclination chose the best. She sought a hiding place under the sheltering lime trees. But the rain came, and the difficulty was that she got wet. She had seen how the water ran down the pendant leaves. So she made a roof of leaves fastened with sticks. But when the wind blew, the rain under it. She observed that the stem would afford protection. She then built a wall of sods, first on one side, then all around them. The wind grew stronger and blew away the roof, but she made no complaint of Meralda. She made a roof of rushes and put stones upon it. Having found how hard
Brian,
it is to
you ever
toil
thought of
alone,
doing audiobooks, bro?
she showed her children how and why she had done it. Then she acted and thought as she did. This is why in which we become possessed of houses and porches, a street and lime trees to protect us from the rays of the sun. At last we have built a citadel and all the rest. If your house is not strong enough, then you must try to make another. My house was strong enough, he said, but the flood and the wind destroyed it. Where did your house stand? Troost asked. On the bank of the Rhine, he answered. Did it not stand on a knoll? Troost asked. No, said the man. My house stood alone on the bank. I built it alone, but I could not alone make a hillock. I knew it, Troost answered. The maidens told me. All your life you have avoided your neighbors, fearing that you might have to give or do something for them. But one cannot get on in this world in that way, for Meralda, who is kind, turns away from the niggardly. Fasta has advised us, and it is engraved in stone over all our doors. If you are selfish, distrustful towards your neighbors, teach your neighbors, help your neighbors, and they will return the same to you. If this advice is not good enough for you, I can give you no better. The man blushed for shame and slunk away.
All right, let's hear from Mr. Talcott and Rant Creature. I'm guessing that they want to add to the experience. I do like that book. I think that there's some good stuff in there. I got to thank also P. Rex. He says, thanks, Paul. I appreciate you, Mr. P. Rex, for your contribution. Peanut Power, Talcott, Mr. Rant Creature, anything?
Well, I got to thank Mr. Smith for helping out too. So thank you, Mr. Smith. Appreciate you, brother. And Mr. Pizer as well.
Yeah, why is Smith attacking Brian O'Shea all of a sudden, saying his life's the biggest joke ever? Like, you're doing the thing again, right? Like where you go, hey, I'm a follower of Jesus. Jesus is Christ, Lord of Lord, King of Kings. And also I drink like 2/5 of vodka a day. And also my life's in shambles. And also Brian O'Shea, you're the biggest joke ever. Like, did you not just at all take in the first part of what he was explaining there from that book, rather reading, not explaining? Did you not realize the whole God of all media is a bit non-bit? It points out the aspect of self that is corrupt and seeks to overwrite and overthrow the natural creation with its pride and ego. Did we not get any of the aspects of the simulation that have been going on here regularly that folks have been missing, all the little components of and aspects of self, right? Remember I say there's aspects of self that we come on here, we willingly show, and then we reverse engineer who and what we are and kind of more and more what needs to happen, regardless of what we want and don't want to happen.
I noticed something that I don't think too many people noticed. I mean, Brian, right, could probably use money, and they pay you to do audiobooks. And you seem like you have the ability to do it.
What, he can read?
He has a
Yeah,
voice.
you could read, and you have the patience to sit there and read it out, right? So if you could do that, and you could read an audiobook, people pay money for that on like Audibly or whatever it's called. Amazon has a thing. People make money.
Brian O'Shea, here's where you ask him why he doesn't have the patience to read or listen to the audiobook.
I could just make money in other ways. And I mean, I don't want to read books, honestly. But like he seems like he's doing it, so fuck it.
Nothing, Talcott. You got nothing for that? I mean, he threw you a beach ball for that one. The
It's
whole
a good
capitalistic.
I can't. When he said he doesn't want to read books, I believe him.
No, I mean, I don't want to read them out loud. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
record
whatever.
them. And
I believe you.
I read a lot of books. I just don't want to like speak them. It's a pain in the ass. But if Brian's gonna do it, you know what I mean? It might be able to be like a little come up, get him on his feet. Just saying.
For the book he was reading, yeah, it could be. I mean, what's his name? Tribe had talked about that with me, having me read books. Brian could read books, and
Jack,
people
you're
will
boring
take
as
them
fuck,
for
bro. I'd
granted.
fall asleep. You
I
wouldn't do
know.
good.
No, for those who want to fall asleep, I've got the perfect voice and cadence.
You could do sleep lullabies, maybe.
I figured that out. But that book,
Roll them
Brian, was
into a hypnosis. I mean, that's what you do already anyway, right? You get the audience into a hypnosis, and then you try to hit them with Talcott mind control.
I encourage people, smoke up, do whatever you got to do to expand your mind, and just try to wrap your mind around the
Yeah,
word.
get loose, brain gravy. Get ready to absorb the Jack Talcott propaganda, right?
Mm-hmm. I heard Dr. Peterson describe Carl Jung this way, and I believe, you understand me, and it's very likely the structures of your consciousness and the perceptions in which you see the world, where it has the potential of drastically changing. And that's scary to many people, to allow their structures of thoughts and their beliefs to change. It scares the shit out of people. I remember my fears.
If you disconnect yourself from you, you could basically just see. And then you don't have to see yourself always in others. You could just see what's happening. You just say that's what's happening. That's all I'm doing.
What's
What's
happening?
happening, man?
Can we give an update, at least for the audience? And I'm not going to pretend that I'm not curious myself. Did you get any paperwork on this house? Like, did they make any? Because here's the thing, right? Despite whatever anyone, including myself, believes is probable to happen, the game of this life and this story is, if something other than whatever is probable to happen happens, then it's a great story. I mean, it's fixing to be a great story, like they say down south. Either way, it's fixing to be that, right? Like I can see that. But yeah, I think that's like the investment and the curiosity is everyone has at least 1% inside of them, at least, that says, I think I know, but I have no idea. This is the diary of Jack Talcott, and something bigger might be going on here. So, like, can we get an update? Are they threatening? Have they sent letters? Have somehow or another God or the devil just sanctioned you to be able to keep that property and everyone just gone away? Like, I have to know.
Not yet. I've been praying for answers. What do? Where I'm at, the contract has expired, right? And I have requested communication with the people who on paper are allegedly the property owners outside of the bank, but I've tried speaking to the owners of this investment firm that purchased the property. It's been the only one I've been able to speak to is the property manager. He's kind of in a tough spot. He's the middleman, and I realize that. He wants me out, but the way I see it, I told him, look, when I leave, you're getting a fully stocked, fully furnished home. I'm going to take what my Camry will take, and the rest is yours. You can sell it, donate it, trash it. I don't care. It's your responsibility after this. But I don't feel like the facts are telling me to leave. So I thank God each day where I make it through the day, and thank God for the grace that has been shown to me, the grace and mercy shown through the property owner, the property manager. I'm still pursuing conversations with the APW, the people that could help resolve the injustices. I'm still moving forward in everything that I can think of.
That's one way to look at it, Jack. But what if God is trying to move you out of there? You're resisting and working with the devil to basically leverage assets that aren't yours against others now and taking from them.
Why would you presume that? I mean,
he's not presuming that. He's asking that question, and I could see what he's saying, because I found, again, I see the walk, and it's usually the same in a lot of ways. And that was pretty much where I was at before I left a place that I could afford, quote unquote, afford with the fiat coupons. But it didn't change that something had to change, right? Well, like for me to change, something had to change. And part of that was leaving where I was at and the property and going on some kind of journey to becoming, it would seem.
Mm-hmm. Well,
you're resisting your own growth, and
you
like,
want an answer?
for the
Or
low hanging fruit.
you can keep your narrative going and keep convincing yourself, but you're not going to convince me.
It's not my narrative, Jack.
I don't
It's
think
yours.
he's attempting. I don't think anyone's attempting to convince you of anything. We're just trying to make sure you're doing a healthy level of questioning of what your discernment is and what is
you're
best
not
for
listening.
yourself. So I'm willing to
I didn't
listen. I
accuse
think he's
you.
willing to listen as well.
I said, what if, you know?
Okay, and I'd love to address that. You know, I think the clear way to tell would be, what are the signs? How am I feeling? What is my conscience telling me? What is my spirit telling me? Well, here's the facts. You know, I've wondered, should I reach out again and continue my efforts for communicating with these people? Because there's more to this contract than just the tiny bit you know. So let's not jump to the conclusions that I'm completely in the wrong here. There's gray areas in every interpretation, and here's the facts. The facts are, this house is evidence of me and my story. If I walk away from here, I'm leaving every bit of evidence of the wrongful persecution and all the other evidence of my past life in hell. So then that means I'm done.
Jack, you literally just in your own way, like you have before, double down, making the point that this house is evidence of your living hell. And rather than you leave behind your living hell, you'd rather sit and live in it to show evidence of it.
See me today in comparison. I am no longer in hell, yet I am in the exact same body, exact same place. If people would see the difference in me, if people from my past who saw this hell and saw me living in hell came here and visited me, they would not be in danger. The only thing in danger is their fucking beliefs. People, here's the point. I'm focused on my success. There's still an opportunity. I mean, very simply, what's on the table from my perception of the wrongful termination, the employment dispute, what's on the table and available for discussion would be more than enough for me to restore and pay off this property and generously reward the people involved with the past transactions. I can take care of the people and make things right when people are willing to, when I am allowed to make things right for myself, I can help others better than I can now. But for me to just, because someone wants to make a profit,
You need
on
permission
this
from the
property.
others. Exactly.
What's that?
You said when you're allowed to. Who gives the permission to you
God,
to help
God,
others?
God
You're
does.
saying God is forbidding you from helping others right now.
God has prevented me from finding anyone willing to join me.
Maybe you're headed in the wrong direction.
That's what you and others far away want to say and want to assume, but I'm telling you, you're welcome to join and see what it looks like from here. It's heavenly.
Like shit, Jack.
So you think.
I'm just saying.
You're wrong.
Okay.
You don't care about what you're saying. That's the thing. You don't censor yourself for the truth. You could do a better job, my friend.
You don't censor yourself for the truth, guys. Okay, you've heard it here live. The truth must be censored on Jack Talcott.
Yeah, I mean, the indication is, Jack, that you really don't believe in what you're saying and putting forth, because if you did, you wouldn't be that reactive and resistant to other folks questioning your perspective and your faith.
I'm not reactive. And at this point, you're right. There was still small, but I'm getting past it. And where it is I'm just frustrated with people just so arrogant, so fucking arrogant. And I really
But
wonder.
you could obviously understand how, even if everyone's wrong and you're right, you could understand how all of us being born in this world, subject to the terms, conditions, and ways of the world, would have a hard time believing that somehow, some way, you're going to be able to retain this property without squaring the supposed contract, which you know what their name of their game is.
Don't assume I don't intend to square the contract. With communication, everything can be restored, resolved. amended. We can work through all the problems. And here, there is more to this that I don't have all the details of, so I've not been speaking about. Okay. So I have questions that the other party would very easily be able to answer, yet they don't want to talk to me. So if they don't want to talk to me and treat me like a man, I'm not in any hurry to go make my life more difficult.
You have to act like a man to be treated like a man, Jack.
You said something that was telling, Jack. Earlier you said you told the maintenance man, when I leave, you can have all this stuff here and XYZ. That means you've already decided subconsciously, if not consciously, you will be leaving there.
Well, no, Paul. Here's where I'm at. I am honest with the facts. And if I have to leave, I am prepared to leave. I'm not going to fight anyone. I'm not going to pull a gun or any shit like that.
Why are you delaying the inevitable, Jack?
Shut up.
What do you have to gain in this small?
I think he's asking good questions, though, Jack. Right? Like, if
you're planning on taking, where are you even going?
You can't answer that question for yourself. You had to interrupt me from answering something else.
Jack, I'll let you ramble for like 10 minutes straight, bro. You didn't actually get to any points on what we're actually talking about. You just did your Jack thing. You know what I mean? Where you try to paint this fucking canvas, this fantasy novel about the situation, not addressing the situation still.
I'm not going to. I'm done with rants.
This is your problem, Jack. You're always just done. You
don't need to listen to opinions.
You can't run from it forever. You have to deal with it eventually.
Would you? You are not a part. Hey, dumbass, you're not a part of my life.
See, that's great. That's classic Talcott right there. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that.
I can't
be ultimately again. I'm not here to do persecution, prosecution, judgment, condemnation.
So
I'm simply pointing out what I've noticed in even your own language that leads me to believe you believe that inevitably you're going to have to leave there.
Tell you what, Paul, if you want to have a conversation, we can have
I thought we were doing that.
Well, this asshat keeps interrupting.
All right, Rand, relax and take a back seat a little bit at times, right? You can ask him questions, but at least let him finish and answer, and then we'll circle back. And
I'll let it be. I'll let Jack just.
I'm not gonna sit here with your constant insults and false narratives about me, Rant. You need to fucking censor yourself and check your words for what is true before you spew your shit into the world, dude. You can do better.
But the reality of it is that for apparently him and everyone else, the truth for them, their truth, unless you have another truth, is we have to somehow come up with X amount of fiat coupons per month, per year, in order to square the debt for maintaining and upkeeping property that we bear no title or direct ownership of, right? So it would make sense to him and everyone else in the world, and you could argue of it, how and why are we going to get to keep... We're basically saying, Jack, this is an interesting situation you find yourself in. If you could somehow create resolution and remedy here, the rest of us are going to have access to a whole bunch of opportunities, apparently, that we didn't know were available.
Yes, you would. When people want to work with me, there will not be so much confusion. I won't be under all of these constant disbeliefs from people who believe in the ways of the world. The only way you can do this is with fiat. My patience is exhausted.
I get that, but the question is...
I'm done.
The question is, it's not a lecture. If you're going to work with me and I'm going to work with you as life coach or as remedy folks or legal lawful folks or even as entertainment, after a certain point, there has to be some level of reasonability and sensibility. So I'm asking you, what do we tell the people who are viewing right now who think that the world comes down to them giving fiat to keep their property? What's the other answer and solution?
Tell them what you want. That's not related to me. I'll talk to you later when you want to talk with me. Peace. Thanks for the opportunity.
Right. Every opportunity you get, you seem to drop the ball. You're unreconciled and you create barriers and distance and division, and you're not received well. I mean, again, you say thanks for the opportunity, but this is a pattern of behavior in your life that you have to recognize. that every opportunity you're given, you squander because you get into your emotional attachment style of what you want and don't want to happen. And when you're questioned and asked for answers, for understanding, for solutions, you don't have them, and you wonder why people deem you to be non-credible. I'm not insulting you with your child and wife and everyone else. I'm pointing out a thematic issue that keeps occurring with a pattern of behavior that seemingly is unresolved and unreconciled. So you can't say we're gonna work together, we're gonna be something, we're gonna do something, and when the audience or anyone says, could you give us your answers and solutions about how you're approaching this and how it's gonna end up, and you just get emotional and reactive, that proves on some level you really don't have any answers for yourself or anyone else. You're pretty much running on blind faith. So I'm not against that. If you want to run on blind faith, I'm interested to see how it turns out. Again, we're all going to find out one way or the other. It's a long game. So again, it's just like we're riding the line between doing a broadcast, having a conversation, bringing answers to others, or having to accept we don't have answers, thereby it being an affront to our pride and ego and seeming credibility, right? Don't get emotional because you are deemed non-credible for not having answers. I'm going to you over and over again with the right questions to get the answers to give to the public or to anyone here, your constituency. So again, it's just, you can't have it all ways at all times. There has to be some level of reasonability and sensibility beyond just a blind faith that you can't explain or can't make understood to folks who need it explained. Your thoughts on any of that, panel members?
I try to look at the situation of the reality we're inhabiting, right? And the situation, the dilemma that we're all in as humans and consciousnesses, right? And I kind of feel like we're all in the motherfucking ocean, right? Floating around, and we're trying to find fucking land, which is like God or the truth, whatever you want to call it. And, you might see a couple of lights off in this direction. I see a couple over there. We're fucking arguing. I think land's that way. You think land's that way. Okay, that's reasonable. But then you got people that are just like, listen, man, maybe it's not about getting to the land. And we're like, then what is it about? And they're like, I don't know, man. I just want to float here in the fucking ocean. And that's not enough for me.
Yeah, it's nihilism essentially masquerading as religionism. I don't see any other way about it. Folks who cannot display or explain the cause and effect or the problem or the solution and don't have an answer or results, who want to appeal to a God or a force that they seemingly lack so much faith in, they get reactive and emotional. Right? That's an indicator of being in fear, not faith. So we have to look at ourselves and each other and be really brutally honest with ourselves and each other when we're in these moments of what's actually happening psychologically and spiritually within us and without us. If not, we're going to continue to generate our own hell and call it a heaven and heavenly. I don't see that. I'm not seeing a heavenly existence for you right now, Mr. Talcott. I'm seeing a living hell that you want to call heaven.
Accept responsibility.
You don't have any responsibility in creating your livelihood and your lifestyle.
Right. Hey, Paul, look, I didn't return for a lecture. Can I just say a couple of
Again,
things?
That's pride and ego. You're very familiar with talking about it, but you're not applying that standard to yourself. You're acting like a petulant child right now. We're asking tough questions to get to realistic answers about who. Okay, Jack, go ahead. Go ahead. You're in control. You have control right now, even though you're out of control of your thoughts and emotions and actions. But you're going to come in here and feign false strength and control, and you're going to project onto me that I don't have that in myself and in my life on some level.
Hey, Paul, you're perfect for you.
It's not about perfect.
Right. Can I say more than 2 fucking words? 3?
I think you should stop embarrassing yourself by becoming reactive and acting out because you don't want to face a truth that is going to require more of you and from you.
Paul, you're the one who is ridiculing me. I mean,
Nobody ridiculed you. You were asked a question. You got emotional. You started cursing and you ran off.
Paul, you're interrupting every fucking thing I say. Can you chill? I mean, let me just be very clear for the point I wanted to get. There's a lot of things I want to say, but here's the point. You clearly have no fucking respect for me or what I offered. You are no longer going to have the keys. And should you want to work with me again, you fucking ask. I'm not offering you shit again anymore. This is ridiculous. I'm done. And we can talk when you choose to learn to share respect. Don't just fucking command it or demand it. I'm done.
Again, you just gave me an ultimatum. You just provided a false resolution to a false problem that exists within you, can be created within you or solved within you. It's just your MO 1-to-1. You only give shit in order to keep track, to hold it over people's head in order to take it back and use it against them. It's fine if you want to do that to play the bit non-bit on a broadcast like I do with O'Shea and others, but where does the line begin and end with the bit non-bit and the truth from the fiction? Right? So you obviously have issues with yourself and your life and your family and your career. You obviously have issues with me by proxy because you have issues with yourself. We can't work together because you're unreconciled. Merely asking you a common sense question puts you into a fit of rage where you start giving ultimatums, taking things back, trying to be domineering and controlling while being abusive. This is the cornerstone of the narcissism and the egotism and the pride that you talk about so regularly and project onto everyone else seemingly in your experience at some point. So, again, I don't need anything from you or with you. It seems you need something from or with me. So you're not offering me anything by proving you need something from and with me. I'm perfectly happy working with you, co-creating with you, sharing love and care with you, or not. So when you get out of your falsely empowered codependence, where you use everyone that comes along in your life who is or has what you believe to be more than you, you won't have this issue anymore. I can't solve your life problems for you. My best efforts to ask you questions or give you answers leads to you going in a fit of rage and projecting onto me. This is probably why you have so many issues with your women, your children, your career prospects, and many other folks who you've met online, I suspect. So again, I'm open to reconciliation. I'm open to solutions-based oriented conversation. I'm open to you having your property, your home, discharge the debt. I'm open to your family coming back. The whole reason I have you here and interact with you is because I care about you and I want resolution for you in all areas. If I didn't, I just wouldn't have you here. Do I necessarily believe at this point, after this display again here today, that you're capable of that? Probably not. Would I wish it to be different? Yes. Am I God of all creation? No. Am I Jack Talcott? No. So my wants and my wishes don't matter as much as the results that have been shown over and over again, and the patterns of behavior and credibility and lack thereof and reputation that have been shown over and over again. Okay, so at some point, we're just going to have to confront the harsh truth and the cold, hard facts, and we're going to have to accept that we're not perfect and that maybe we can tighten up in some areas, do and be and have better. If not, you're going to keep manifesting a hell for yourself and calling it heavenly. The actions of a man, as just displayed, are not a man who's existing in a heavenly, blissful, loving reality. Far from it. It was demonic, to be frank.
Jack demands respect, right? But he hasn't earned it, and he doesn't give it.
Click the link, Sanity.
Isn't that crazy? I mean, respect is like a two-way street. But when you're out there telling people, like, they don't know what they're going to get, and then your next words is, I don't even know what, like...
It's hard to, again, you see he comes in like folks do many times here. They have a good sense of humor about their life and their own brand of insanity, which looks a lot like everyone else's brand of insanity, ironically, until they reach a moment in the conversation in life when they realize they don't have control and they're unreconciled. Then they get angry. Then they get bitter and resentful. Then they want to project onto daddy and say, I'm going to destroy myself and whatever goes on here to prove you didn't love me enough. That's not how this works. You need to go to therapy if you're living out these subconscious, archetypal, unreconciled states of beingness. It's not, the answers are not going to be found here with me online. The answers are going to be found with the truth that you keep ignoring and rejecting, resisting, and fighting against. I'm not your enemy.
Like, why did they flip out on you before they've even evaluated what you just said? There's no way their brain could have processed what you just brought to them, right? They didn't even say that's possible. You know what I mean? Because in their minds, it's impossible. They don't even want to go through the process of evaluating the information.
No, they're looking for me to accept their hell they call heavenly and ignore their responses, reactions, or results and accept the claim. I'm not willing to be gaslit. I'm not willing to be obfuscated away from the truth and what the facts show. Right? So it's like this is the cornerstone of egotism and narcissism that he speaks regularly about, and like they all like to project onto me. I don't need those mechanisms and modality. I have objective logic, morals, and ethics on my side, along with history. What would I need egotism and narcissism for? The facts are better than my feelers. I got to screen this person here. King Stephen, can I hear from you, sir?
Hello.
Can I see you and hear from you?
Hello.
Yeah, are you planning on doing anything? Can I just see you real quick?
I have tape over my camera. It doesn't work.
Okay, but you're not planning on doing anything?
No, just talking.
Okay, I'll accept that.
You've messaged me before in the past. I think you found my email. I don't know if you remember.
I
that.
messaged you?
Yeah, I'm the Sanity Machine. I'm from the Sanity Machine channel.
I don't believe I've ever emailed you, sir.
The guy that Chalk Body Outline made videos about and stuff like that a few months ago.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
That voice sounds creepy, bro.
Does it? Creepy?
Yeah, why you
bro.
sound creepy like that, bro?
You sound creepy to me.
I
Why are
don't
you so
know.
hostile?
I don't know, bro.
You guys paranoid over here or something? I've got a channel. Why don't you just type in the Sanity Machine?
You just came up and you said I emailed you.
Yeah, a while ago. You introduced yourself to me. You emailed.
Could you please? Because I want to make sure that someone's not pretending to be me. So could you please tell me what email that is and pull that up and read it to me if possible? Because I don't have any memory of doing that, and it's not typical of my behavior.
No problem. It was months ago, and somebody.
I'm not aware of who you are, and I don't watch your channel, so it'd be odd that I would email you.
All right. Can you hold on a second?
You can't see how that's strange that I'm not aware of who you are and don't watch your channel for me to then take time out of my day to send an email when there's people I do watch who I haven't done that with. It's possible you might be revealing that I'm Joe Biden'd out here today, in which case I need that diagnosis. I might be a bit Alzheimer'd already. I mean, I've done a lot of drugs in my time.
All right, no problem. I'll check for the email.
Thank you, sir. Joe Moore, did you have anything that you wanted to speak on?
Yeah, you know, I don't have like an internet here, Paul. I ask that you forgive me. I don't have any, modem or anything. I'm on just a phone. I tried to work with Jack just like everybody else has. And he is kind of one-sided to a degree. I mean, I sent him like a wizard 2-cent stamp, a letter through the mail from my house to his house is 2,000 miles. And I no zip code. So it's first class non-domestic. And it's something that nobody in the post office has ever heard of. I mean, people call Wizard crazy about, not using proper postage. I actually stack a post with a 2-cent stamp, zip exempt, no zip attached to him. No zip.
Yeah, I've been aware of this before I met Wizard. The American Nationals do it all the time. There's no requirement for any of this crap in order to send communications. You're cutting out a little bit. Try to get close to your router, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Yo, let me tell you how to send mail
Yeah,
for
I
free,
don't have
ladies
a
and
router.
gentlemen. Listen, here's what you do. You do a Jedi mind trick on them. You take the to address, you put your address there, right? And you put the from address as their address, but you send no stamp. So when they go to return it, it goes where it's going. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. You can also wipe off the black stuff with a little bit of vinegar if you steam the letter and get free stamps.
Right. That would be known as also a
Well, I
return address, not a from address. And many of us are aware
Yeah,
of
there
that.
you go.
That's
You
possible.
just flip
Yeah.
them, bro, and they're free. Listen, I'll teach you. The squirrels taught me.
Yeah, you're a genius, man. I learned that about you.
The squirrels taught me.
I'm just pointing out that here, with that Real ID Act coming up, they want us all to become federal citizens via that Real ID Act, which, you're just inviting, you're consenting to their jurisdiction. Same thing with the zip code. We invite it by using it. There's that consent that you're talking about, Paul.
Yeah, they've already done that with United States citizen. Everybody's ID, passport, and all the rest of it already denotes they're a United States citizen. It already makes you a federal citizen, as you want to put it. But again, this is just it's whatever they want it to be at this point. Because I go, okay, make me a federal citizen. I'll park myself in federal jurisdiction, and I'll just use your code to get myself out of anything you want to try to create fraudulent liability for me for. It's all there, right? U.S. code establishes that we have basically God-given rights and that these agents are bound to do only certain things and no more than that. So even if they write down, hey, weed is illegal and federally illegal, well, states have states' rights to govern themselves, as they like to say, aka they can't keep their agents. They have to keep their agents from interfering with our God-given rights. So once that's put on record, guess what? We can trade those plants and those herbs without any say from an agent. So, ultimately, I could park myself in federal jurisdiction. They could make any federal legality, illegality that they want. And I'm going to just point them back to the original standing and standpoint of where that all kind of generates from. And that's the sound law, right? That no agent, state, local, federal, can prescribe a code that is a detriment to the men and women they serve, the benefactor of government and the beneficiary, unless the being deems themselves to be a co-trustee, which is what calling yourself United States citizen essentially is. You've been deemed to be a withholding agent. That's what your tax forms say. You're a withholding agent for a reason. You're a co-trustee for United States Corporation on paper. So, you can have those things, you can present those things, but you better not claim you are those things, if that makes sense.
We are not
It's
the body,
many
we are
ways.
the spirit and habit in the body. The
Right.
body is a vehicle.
Right. We are non-being. We use beingness. The Tao says that. So I am that am as a consciousness. I have a body. I am not a citizen. I have a citizenship. I can get in it, pilot it around the seas of commerce, and then I can park it, get off, and I'm back to man on the land, aka I am that am in bodily form. So this is the double talking pimp game, perception, deception that they engage in, where they use words and terms and sorcery and spelling to divide us from the reality of what's happening. And it tends to work.
If you associate with the body, you die with the body. You know what I mean?
So with back to Jack, I mean, we do have a lot here that we could learn from his situation. If he would just utilize this and take it some of the advantage of, we tried to get him to challenge the validity of the alleged loan, a year ago? Not to say he can't do that now. And hopefully if he would just listen to maybe some of your knowledge, some of, Wizard's knowledge on, challenging whoever, because they're going to send a representative, right? That's how they
He's
operate.
not willing to. He's not willing to concede that he's not the God of creation in this form. It's very Luciferian what he's up to. He wants to be his own God, and he wants his will to be done, regardless of what the facts, the record, the law, the code, equity, maxims of law. It doesn't matter what's shown to him or told to him. He will have it his way or no way. And by virtue of that state of consciousness, he will never actually attain that. That's where it's self-defeating.
It's like a megalomania with like a god complex, but it's at the root Luciferian. Straight up.
Isn't that all of what that all describes anyway, with the original story of the personality archetype that seeks to overwrite everything in creation for its own will, regardless of how senseless and disordered and chaotic it seems to be, while claiming it's a heaven, we're in a hell? It's inversion.
The strangest
inversion hypocrisy.
The strangest thing about the dilemma in most cases is the worst kind of deception is when they're not even aware that they have become Luciferian, and they start doing things and they don't even know that they're doing them. Like, I believe that Jack doesn't know he's doing sigil hand magic, but he does do it. That being said, I think we spoke about this once before. Is there only one operator on that vehicle of that body? You know what I mean? Has that body been opened up to, demonic control? Is there any contracts? I don't know. But I see Jack do things that he's not necessarily aware of, but I'm aware of it.
Right, but isn't this essentially all of what, if we reduce it back to the religious language initially, this is what mental, emotional, spiritual illness presents as Luciferianism. Like, let's go back to Passio now for the, I guess, non-bit portion of the bit non-bit.
You got owned. You got punked out like a bitch. And you don't want to acknowledge it. You don't want to admit it. That's what Satanism is.
That's what Satanism and Luciferianism is. You've been punked out and played and deceived, and you don't want to admit it because you got too much pride and ego. You'd rather fight with God while you destroy yourself. You'd rather resist the truth while the lie undoes you.
Passio's the inverted Jack, bro. He's got the black beard and the white hair. He woke up. It's the mirror Jack.
Right. The reality is Passio's doing it as well because he acts like he doesn't have debts and loans and banking contracts and mortgage death pledge, and he doesn't exist merely at the whim of the people he yells and screams at every day. So, I mean, at some point here, we all get lost in our own fucking egotistical, prideful bullshit if it's not highly observed and checked, especially in these venues where you're constantly given validation, adoration, adulation, and criticism only really ever comes from folks who wish to undo you. It never really comes from folks who are loyal and truthful and honorable. They're only ever using criticism that might be truthful about you to try to mischaracterize you and character assassinate you. They're never giving it to you constructively.
Yeah, don't get it twisted. Passio is a straight up blood drinking Satanist. Even if he changed his life around, he still did that. At my worst, I never did no shit like that.
Again, bro, I'm not going to take that presentment because, as far as my conscience goes, maybe I'm just a bitch and I'm hypersensitive, but I've been a part of people, places, and things that were wrong and bad and wound up with folks being hurt. So as far as I'm concerned, if you're guilty of the least of it, you're guilty of all of it. And as far as our understanding goes, whoever the hour is, because I don't call myself a Christian, but it would seem to me with what I have experienced firsthand and what I've seen with others that there's always reconciliation and redemption available if you seek to turn from your wicked ways. If you will not confront that and reconcile that and turn from that, then you will continue to bear the judgment of literally the karma, the cause and effect. This isn't even that mysterious and mystical. It's just like,
but all I'm saying is when you look at it, whatever a being has done, there's certain levels, right? And I don't know if you ever dealt with the evil side of life and the devil, you know what I mean? But the devil and the demons, they'll try to get you to do incrementally more wicked things to drag you deeper into the darkness, right? And what I'm saying is some people go real deep, right? And like, you know what I mean? I've taken it to like levels of violence, you know what I mean? Maybe a little bit of robbery here and there, something like that, you know what I mean? Allegedly. But at the end of the day, I was never out there, you know what I mean, beating up old ladies or kids or
It doesn't matter, bro. You're justifying right now. This is what all you religionists and Jesus freaks do. You make justifications for your wrongdoing and your evil.
There's levels.
How is harming in some way or potentially changing the rest of someone's life neurochemically by putting a gun in their face or whatever the fuck else? How is that not harming one of God's children? And how are you not guilty of the least and the most of everything? I don't see how.
I'm not guilty, yo. I was a terrible piece of shit. I was an animal. I was living as an animal, right? I'm not denying that. But I'm trying to say that there was some type of moral compass, right? Where like I wasn't just out there fucking with people at random. I was dealing with people who had agreed to that lifestyle. Like if you're out there, you know what I mean, you're selling drugs, like you agreed to that lifestyle, you know what's involved with it. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't out there dealing with innocence. There was something in me. You know what I mean? I can't explain that.
No, listen, you don't have to explain it. I've lived it. The heart is pure, you could call it, right? Unless you're, again, the heart is pure at its natural essence, at its essential component. And then we are heartbroken people at a certain point. So we're not completely whole. And we start doing atrocity because we fall into absurdity with absurd folks.
When I hated myself the most, I was at my most violent. You know what I'm saying? The more I came to terms with what I am, who I am, right? The violence leaves you. It's still, there's still
right. The less heartbroken you are, the less reactive you are, the less willing you are to put your burdens and your pain and misery onto other people who aren't living that.
Yeah. And then it becomes, you then can either, you know, you can flip the other way and start to repent for that and start the sacrifice process. Not like actual sacrifices. What I'm saying is you're sacrificing your efforts for others, doing for others. You know what I mean? That's the repentance. You know what I mean? If you did,
I agree that.
I mean, like every
repentance part, right? Don't you? I have to go and actually apologize to the people that I did the wrong to, in order for me to truly, you know, repent.
It's not always
I have
direct.
to let them know that you know, I did wrong, and I'm not going to repeat that behavior.
That's also repenting. You know what I mean? Turning your life around, turning the direction you're headed in.
Right. The problem is you're constantly around folks who are claiming righteousness while doing wrong and claiming wrongdoings while there is no wrongdoing. It may be righteousness. So if there is no loss, injury, and harm, and there is no unpaid debt that you've agreed to, there is no wrongdoing.
I'm not having any claim to righteousness. You know what I mean? I'm a man. I'm flawed. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, I might bug out one day and just punch a motherfucker in the face. You know what I mean? Like I might just, like, there's no man that is good. I'm trying to be. That's all I can say. I'm trying to be good as I can be. I'm in hell almost right now. So like,
I'm glad you
know
mentioned that, Rant, because you were actually preaching that to me the other day. And you're right. Every man is corruptible.
You know what I mean? We're still flesh at the end of the day that we're inhabiting as a spirit. So that's the corruptible part of the man. Now, if you let the flesh corrupt the spirit, this is the worst thing. You know what I mean?
Hi, Paul.
What's going on, Goblin?
Not much, man. I hope your day's been blessed.
Yeah, I got no complaints, man. Complaint department's closed anyway. Universally.
Hey, man, what do you think about this this Palestinian shit, man?
Oh, you know what I think about it, man. I've said it over and over again. It's just more world stage optics, like your boy likes to say. It's just more, you know, fraudulent nation state controlled by central bankers behind the scenes, internecine battles in order to bring in a new system and a new way of beingness, a very old new way of beingness, right? It's just like slavery except digital now.
if
So
you
they've
were,
done this over and over again, man.
yeah, and
As it was
that's the thing. If
pre-flood.
you seen that Golden Gate Bridge shit, man, you could see that was definitely staged. I mean, how the
Did
hell
you
you
hear
bring
me?
yourself to barrels and shit? You know what I mean?
Technocratic mind control slavery.
Were you listening the other night when I called that out, that there would be something with the Golden Gate today? Do you remember that? I'm gonna have to go back and clip that out, but I fucking
you
don't
call it
remember.
out?
Well, I said something would likely happen, just like on Nancy Pelosi's birthday, the Baltimore Bridge came down. She was from Baltimore. Today's Paul Pelosi's birthday. He's from
That's
San
it.
Francisco.
Right, but we're back to the irony of you can tell me more about what's likely to happen in the world than you can in your own life and life path. That's not a good omen.
You know what it is? He wants the T-shirts to be made that say "Pineal Power was right," like Alex Jones.
I know. That's the thing. Everybody's looking for credit that they know, like, okay, we're there. You're there. We got it. The discernment's there. The connections are there. The number counting's there. The philosophy and theology's there. Now what? I keep posing the question for all the fucking extremely intelligent, discerning gotcha folks with the whataboutisms. Now what?
This is the question, and no one can answer it.
Right, because they're not willing to answer it. They can answer it. They're not willing to. It's just easier to sit in the nether region of the now I'm drawing blanks lately. I'm going full Joe Biden because I'm taking this RSO oil. I don't even know where I am anymore, but somehow I just keep opening my mouth and shit comes out. The purgatory, right? This is this purgatorial state of beingness that most are in, where they're looking around. They're describing what they're seeing. When they get it right, they're like 10 points for the truther community. We got it right. Okay. Now what when it comes to you and your self-development and your life and what you're creating or not?
I feel like if we go this route, we're going to be walking into a FEMA camp, right? Handcuffed to each other, going, "We knew it." You know what I mean?
Right. And I'm going to go, great. We all knew it. And then like everyone will be there and then I'll come in, right? Or I'll already be there. I don't know how we write the movie. I think we write the movie where everyone else gets locked up first in the FEMA camp, and then they cart in Paulie Boy, and the whole place goes, yeah.
Talcott's in a guard tower going,
yeah.
Elated.
Yeah, it's just everyone clapping. And I'm like, yeah. So what did we do from now till then? I'm gonna go, hey, how was your experience from like last time I saw you to now? That was pretty interesting.
The sad part is you're absolutely right, Paul. And what I would have to say is it's pathetic, and that includes me too, because nobody wants to answer the question. Now what?
Goblin, the only reason that I've come to this state of beingness is because I lived it for so long, what I'm seemingly criticizing. I couldn't talk about something I didn't know that was true about me first and foremost, unless I was speculating. I'm not. I was in the analysis paralysis for too long. Am I fascinated by the universe and everything in it and how it works? Yeah. Am I going to spend all of my waking time, energy, attention looking at what could be and ignoring what is? No. Right? I'm going to create around that or with that. I'm going to co-create with that or around that.
There may be one man that may have the answer, Paul. He goes
Jack
by
Talcott?
No. He goes by the name of Pops.
Again, there is no answer. The answer is already there. You guys aren't going to reinvent the wheel or overwrite life and creation. I know you desperately want to. They're working on it. The best people are working on it. They'll have the goggles for you soon enough and the implants. But life is there, right? Life is available, brothers and sisters, and everything within it, right? The opportunity, the creation of your character from within that you bring to the world stage into life, and what you create and what you experience. That's all within your ability to choose still right now. So if you avoid that to focus on their ability to choose what your life's going to be, well, then oddly enough, while you're focusing on what their ability to choose is for your life, you're going to be living their ability to choose for your life and not living your own.
Do all good people not feel the desire to fight evil? Even though they also at the same time do not desire war. They desire peace, but they feel this need to fight evil. Well, how do you fight evil? This is the question.
Right. You subdue or you direct your evil ways as much as possible in faith. You cannot fight what is part of you.
Yeah, and that's also one of them things where it's not even just spiritually you feel like you want to do that. Like that actually it satisfies your ego as well. You know what I mean? That's natural all the way around. That's the way that you should be as a human.
And we've all identified money is the root of it, but how do you fight money? Do you punch a dollar?
No, we have not all identified that money, as you put it, or fiat coupons are the root of all evil. I don't accept that. Ignorance is the root of all evil.
Trade, right, for things that aren't.
You didn't even listen to what I just said.
That's what I meant. I'm sorry. Trade without.
How do you conflate money with ignorance? One is a state of beingness. The other one is a physical manifestation of a state of beingness.
Is there real value in the money?
Because we give it value.
That's based on perspective, right? It's based on perspective. On the highest level, no. On the lowest level, yes, because perception is reality on some level if the majority of the folks are living a living hallucination.
If the powers that be decide that it no longer has a value, which they can, and which is what their plan is with the digital shit, right? To be able to control it, decide the value in live real time.
The fiat only exists because man exists. They collateralize man. So everything that extends off man is a representation of man's value.
That's why there's even an episode regarding crypto, currencies at all, is because they want to do the power grab.
That's why you go at court, and if you say from that perspective, I'm a secure party creditor, it doesn't even matter if I'm holding these instruments. You can't control and regulate me because everything you created extends off of me and my credit and credibility and my signature. Who are you kidding? So, bring in 10 more racks of fucking fiat coupons that are supposed to represent value. Because if I'm living truth on any level, well, that's all that is, right? And then you could argue from the inversion side, right? If you live the lie hard enough and long enough and you're good enough at it, well, they're going to bring in a stack of representation of value in their world. I mean, the presumption is that God's people shouldn't have representations or coupons of value. I don't accept that.
It's mammon. It becomes idolatry.
Yeah, if you put the truth and who and what you are beneath that representation of value, yes, you could do that with anything. You could do that with women. You could do that with your country. You could do that with anything and anyone. It's a state of beingness.
It makes it really hard for certain, like if everything was real value, it makes it hard for certain individuals to have that much in a space and protect it.
This is why, again, on one level, it's a representation of value. If you tilt the coin on the other side, like the shadow side is, it's a representation of how much debt you're in. Because they'll say for every X amount of those pieces of paper you hold, it represents how much they've printed up and collateralized you and put everyone collectively into debt. So on one level, it's a representation of value and what you've created or what you've served. And on another shadow side, it's a representation of how much your body is in debt here to this system because you are the origination point of that.
In mass, if people realized that in mass and they just said, we don't owe you this money and we don't acknowledge money anymore, then the rich don't rule the world anymore. The people do.
Let me put it to you like this. Right? If I do what I do here every day and I change lives on some level or facilitate a life change, because I can't change lives. I can help facilitate, like was helped to facilitate with me, a change in someone's life. Well, if someone gives me value for that, that's a representation of my value in the community. If I go work for Exxon and I get $200,000 or $500,000 a year to work for Exxon and sell my soul, well, that $500,000 now just became a representation of who and what I'm indebted to.
I'm not claiming I know a way around using the coupons. I'm just claiming that it is the root of the evil. You know what I mean?
The root to the evil is lack of understanding of self and where your power and true resource is located. So that would be ignorance, and arrogance is the root of all evil.
And that's what perpetuates the fiat coupon system.
Right.
Well,
One comes before the other.
Yeah, they'll take
I can accept that.
the currency, and then they'll play off your ego and your energy. That's what it comes down to, really.
They'll say, "Oh, you work for Exxon Valdez. You get $5 million a year. Boy, is that a representation of your value." But really, it's a representation of how deep you're in debt with Shaitan and how much you're going to have to destroy yourself and this planet in order to exist.
I can stand
really
behind
all
that,
about
bro.
perspective.
Ignorance is the root of all evil. I agree. For lack of knowledge, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge.
That's the only reason Donnie Trump, on subconsciously on some level, presuming it's real, didn't take his fucking salary, because he knew subconsciously, if I take this money and I do what I know I'm going to do, which is sell out, I'm getting double and triple the karma. I don't need the money anyway. So he's probably smart for that. If you're going to be a useful dupe, don't take payment for it, because you're going to get double the fucking karma. They're going to want that money back in blood.
I mean, there's also people that just don't care about the money. Like, he did it as almost as like a statement, you know what I mean? To let people know it's not about the money. It was like a sales point.
Right. I'd rather you fail and lose and convince everyone else of that for free rather than take payment for it. It's better off for you.
I respect him more for not taking the payment. I mean, it doesn't mean I like him, but it's like 1 point in the bucket. You gotta weigh shit, right?
It's just a selling point.
You gotta
it's
wait.
just a way to be perceived as honorable by a crowd. Oh, he didn't take his 100,000 for the year. He don't need that shit. He's working with the bankers. What does he need a fucking $100,000 salary for when he can get $1 billion line of credit off his assets? Give me a fucking break. It's a selling point.
It's nothing to him.
Just like when these motherfuckers donate to charity and tell everyone about it. It's just another selling point for their image and their legacy.
It's tax write-offs too, bro. They do it to, like, they actually get benefit from it. It's even more fucked up. You know what I'm saying?
All right, give me the final word here. I got to go look at land. We're coming up on the third hour. We didn't even barely do if we did any breaking news. Let me do a couple breaking slave news.
You looking at
Hey,
land,
I'm
bro?
getting out of here, man. I just stopped by real quick, man.
All right, get the hell out of here.
All right.
I'll see you later, Goblin. Sergeant does not know the law. Doesn't want to follow their own codes. That's part of the headline, so we got to view it. Film the Police LA. This is a new person I came across. Pretty entertaining individual. Facts aside, right? I'm not going to get into the characterization of whether I'm supporting him completely in what he's doing. I'm not going to do the analysis and the breakdown if I can help it. He's doing what he's doing. He obviously believes in it. He's a fairly entertaining guy. I'll let God be the judge and the people at the end of the day on, is he doing right? Is he doing wrong? Or somewhere in between? Because, I mean, isn't that everybody?
Look it up, bro. I had look it up. 70%. Are you kidding me? The tint laws are 70%. You can have tints in the front. Are you kidding me? I looked up plenty of times. I've written you guys up for the same fucking tint laws. Before you law this and say you can't have any tints, thinks that you cannot have any tints on the front passenger or front driver windows. My God, I'm gonna make a fool out of you. But why are they calling me back up? You know why? Because they're gonna pull him out and handcuff him. So he's coming right there. Here comes another one. You guys doing all this, I bet you're gonna handcuff him and search the car, right? Here we go. Here comes the drama queens. Here you guys. Normal traffic stops gotta have backup, right? Gotta have backup, you gotta handcuff them, you gotta search the car, right? Just out of routine. You know what? Fuck it. We'll have the third car come too. Because a Dodge Charger or a Dodge Challenger out here in Hollywood, the Hollywood cops are gonna be big ass fucking drama queens and pull them out of the car and handcuff them just out of fucking routine. Justify that. You're gonna have to justify this pretextual stop. You need 6 cops for 1 car. What are they doing? Why are they just standing here like this? Get on with the damn stop. What the hell are you waiting for? They got all these cops. What are they waiting for another car to come? They're just gonna stand there. Right? It's just they're just standing there waiting for more backup. Huh? No, it's not. This is standard. This is every day. This happens all the time, man. Exactly. Walk over and talk to him. Exactly. But they're just wasting their time. He's going to have him here for a half hour, 45 minutes, an hour, while they just sit around doing this. What are they even doing? What are they waiting for? They got 4 cops here.
What if the car just left?
I've seen that happen before. I've seen so many police chases. I've watched the end of police chases. I've watched the car get shot up at the end of police chases. I've seen the amount of stuff I've seen.
We're gonna be here for half an hour.
And listen, don't say that. I'm oppressing, so they don't. Who's that? Who's this one card? Will they get armed? Just go give him his ticket, whatever the fuck you're gonna do. Not early, not early.
This is the newest video. I watched one of the other ones yesterday, but this one's rather uneventful. Your thoughts, Brian O'Shea? On the window tint? Tint gate?
Fascism tastes so good. Fascism.
Slaves want it. They need it.
Yum, yum. Mm-mm-mm. These guys are pretty cool, man.
You get to receive what you receive. I know what I'm offering. And I'm offering, well, I don't know. Thoughts, Chandler?
Final words, Brian O'Shea, Penal Power.
All right, I'll see you guys later, man. Thanks for the broadcast, Paul.
Thank you, Mr. O'Shea. I got to do more breaking slave news tomorrow. I've been neglecting to breaking slave news. People like that. Some of them.
All right, I just ran back. I saw you were ending. Have a good one, man. I'll see you tomorrow probably. Take it easy, everybody.
Thank you, Sean.
All right.
All right, folks. Another one in the books. I'm calling it a resounding success. We were panel heavy today. Sometimes it works out that way. You know, you never really know what you're going to get here, but you know what you're going to get here. If that makes sense. Pino, I don't know why you're still here. And I got to throw you out every time. This kid just tell you something. Okay. Goodbye. So, yeah. I'll be back. As always, we're 7 days a week still. I'm not taking a day off. I wanted to take Sunday, but I said, you know what? I'm going to continue on. Long as my body is willing and able, the spirit is willing and able, and I'll be here till I can no longer stand. That's my commitment to this audience and to this endeavor. So, with that said, I will be back tomorrow, 12 to 3, MDT, as always. Mazel from out west. And yeah, if you folks want it, commitment to more breaking slave news. Although I would prefer to do more fellowship activity in the sense of interpersonal conversation, conversion, facilitation, that sort of thing. If the time allows, if the situation calls for it, right? I don't want to force anything. I don't want to manufacture anything. There's always the element of content here. But I do see it as a calling, or part of my cause for doing this, or even being here at this time, is to give a perspective, if I'm able, to individuals to facilitate a quote unquote positive change, right? Or just a reformation, reconciliation, as I have seen in my own life. So I'm going to leave it there. Much love, times 2, right? That's how you know that it's real. I do have a generalized care and what I guess you could call love for all beings of life. Oftentimes, things don't always shake out the way we want them to, but that's no reason to live in hate, of course. It is preferable to live in love or to live in care, as long as you observe the truth, than to live in bitterness, resentment, division, and hate. So I choose that for me. It is a selfish endeavor, I guess you could argue, but by virtue of choosing that for me, I think it allows me to be more selfless on the back end. So that's a win-win as far as I can tell. But I'm still willing to play the bad guy online, right? And I'm still willing to do wrong, right? And to be focused and refocused, right? Because it seems that's the path of life, right? Is not necessarily do wrong, but not do as good as I could be doing, right? That's what I've learned. So I'm open to that being the case. I'm open to being humbled at times by the force of creation, which happens almost immediately, it seems, in my life. So when I get off track, when I get off course, I'm humbled pretty quick and I'm put back on track. How long I stay on track, that's another discussion, right? I have these habits, I have these regressive patterns, as I believe we all do. So we're right at home here. If not anywhere else in the universe, we're right at home here on the metaverse. So I wouldn't have it any other way. All right, folks, enough of the jibber jabber. I'm out of here. Go do something with the rest of your day. Get the hell out of here.
Me, I always tell the truth, even when I lie. So say good night to the bad guy. Go on. The last time you're going to see a black guy like this again.
The Great Reset's happening. So when you get all your pretty and nice shit taken away and your bullshit job that leads to nowhere, and you're forced back on the land and have to be self-sustainable and co-creative and work with what is, this talk about your feelings and your ego is going to go right out the window, because the God and the elements and nature are going to present what needs to happen next. 9 out of 10 times. That's the difference between me and you. I got it in me, not on me, just like you do. I'm trying to work it out, bring the subconscious to the conscious and figure out who and what I am. Am I good or evil? Am I real and true? Am I a narcissistic, egotistical deceiver? That's the difference. I'm actually authentically trying to work it out while you lie to everyone and project your negative aspects of self onto me, and I don't appreciate it. And the universe don't appreciate it either. And the students of life in this audience don't appreciate it either. This isn't about love and money. This isn't about chasing bags or anything else in and of the world. This is about the philosophy, right? The love of knowledge, the love of wisdom, the love of understanding of self and applying it to actualize and realize and get better results for yourself and everyone else. I thought that's what we were doing here. So let's get the game back in its proper perspective. The motherfucker doing this shit shouldn't have to talk about it because you folks want to lie on it. It's embarrassing to me. I didn't come on here with the intention of the understanding that this is supposed to be for business or a hobby. That's why I show up the way I do 500 days straight. That's why I have a care in my heart with passion. That's why I do what's true and what's right and see through you motherfuckers and get amazing results for me, for me, for me. We can't allow the generalized experience of life and everything it has to offer, good, bad, and indifferent, to hold us back or keep us paralyzed or keep us fearful or self-doubting or unloving and uncaring of ourselves. How do I know? Because I look into me. That's all this is. I can see further than the rest. I can interpret beyond what's told and shown, and I can amalgamate and communicate the cause and effect and the root of the state of consciousness and awareness. That is a astounding testimony to the work that I've done on myself in this world and in this life and the practices I've walked with other people. The question and answer, the fellowship, the co-creational endeavors, and the conversation that leads to understanding. But again, we can't appeal to false emotions and false authority. That is the cornerstone of cognitive dissonance. You can't say that I'm respectable, righteous, honorable, presentable, and then I have balls, and then turn around and hate me or catch feelings over me, be in that and live in that when you don't like it, or when it doesn't turn out as favorably for you as you would have hoped or expected, right? That's the theme of a true common bond that goes long term versus the shallow, materialistic, worldly connections that come and go. Just, it is what it is. Some people are down forever. Some people are down for the ride until they got to get off, right? And some people ain't down at all. So through the life experiences, firsthand experiences, through the tests and challenges, you learn more and more who and what is meant for you, and who or what is probably not going to be able to sustain the ride. And that's okay.
God of all media.